Hello and welcome back to another Element Qualifier. This is going to be Qualifier number 8. My name is Crashy, joined with my bro OSK. How's it going, boss?
Hey, I'm doing just fine, man. I'm just back from qualifier number 7. Saw some great action. Ready for another repeat of that here in qualifier number 8. Got some great teams lined up for you. Going to have 8 games of exciting action with the best 6 going to each of these teams. And let's start naming off some of our predictions here because we have a nice little repeat of a team here from, I believe, qualifier number 5. We got Team C and T with Nemo, Dworky, and Nigel taking, I believe, qualifier number 5 for their win there, getting the $30. But they're back here. I guess they figured that their qualifying score wasn't quite safe enough, so they're here to make it even better. Crashy.
Yeah, CNT is going to be back, and we have some other cool teams. World tier looking rather interesting as well. That's going to be
Yep.
No Ace, Primo Tastic, and Gigabyte teaming up, bringing it together, creating a squad. So we'll see what they have in the gas tank. But there's some other amazing players as well. I mean, I want to just read them all off because now I feel like I've given so much spotlight. But we got like Tacos, Cap, and Cap and Happy are going to be playing Hoof, Team
Hoof.
Prospect, Hoof. Gavlik,
Absolutely.
your boy Ross is going to be playing. I can't see the name right there. Is it Kalibis? Is going to be
That's
there?
Kalibis.
Yeah, I mean, so we have. I'm looking down further down my list. We have Ashen, Frost, Doc, and Very Chris coming in with Wind Goes Burr. So that's going to be an interesting one because I think we have maybe a Tempest on our hands.
We got a few Tempest.
A few Tempest players in this one. So this is going to be the Tempest qualifier, and I'm looking forward to that because you really don't get to see a lot of Tempest playing squads. So I'm looking forward to that. Definitely looking forward to that.
You really don't. I would go ahead and point out just some of the more prominent names in the Tempest community here. We have Ashen Frost, of course. Tacos is the biggest one. He's going to be the most recognizable for the most of you out there. Almost exclusively one tricks Tempest. I think he says half of his play time, his total Spellbreak play time is off of Tempest, so it'll be exciting. And of course, Kyrie Caitlin as well, another prominent Tempest player on that's team Palpu Promise. Really a bunch of familiar players on that particular squad. We got Calculated and Eureka's following up with that team there. So definitely something to look out for. And also plenty of Frostborns coming out. I know your boy Ross really likes to main that class. I know a few members of CMT like to bring it out here every so often. And interesting that you're going to see here, this is going to be on It's Your Boy Ross's team, Boomers and Son. We saw Galing in particular. It's a very, very controversial choice here, but he is a very big fan of Featherfall on Pyromancer. And you're going to see, I would imagine, a lot of that coming out here in the squad play. He made it work pretty well for himself in solos, but in the squad environment, when everyone can really focus you down, we'll see if anything changes there. But be on the lookout for it. It might be something interesting to watch.
The interesting thing about that is I would probably dare say that if you were going to pull out a Featherfall, squads could potentially be an interesting place to do it because you have a little bit less focus on you. That's not necessarily, but you could have a little bit less focus on you with the other teammates, like kind of moving around. It just depends on like when you use it, how you use it. I'm not saying it's good.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's useless. I'm just speaking some thoughts out there about the usefulness of Featherfall. And it's funny. I've been playing with it a little bit myself lately. It's been pretty fun. So there's always some interesting things. Exactly, very interesting. And I think that's going to be the kind of theme for today. Interesting. I'm hoping we see some Tempest. I'm hoping we see some pretty interesting things in this qualifier for sure.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. And funny to note as well, Galing was tearing up the solo lobbies with Featherfall. It wasn't just he was making it work. He was dominating lobbies with it. You would get 7, 8 exiles a match. It was crazy. That was from Monday whenever I saw him pick it up last. So we'll have to see if anything's changed since then. Of course, we do have a lot of players out here that do like to run Conduit. They do like to run Frostborn, as I mentioned before. So maybe it'll be a little bit of a danger. We'll see how that works out. Speaking of Conduit, though, we have a little member on Team 8 here. I haven't heard of the name Conduit Abuser, but it looks like we'll have to keep an eye out on him. Maybe he will actually run a Conduit. Maybe it's a bait and switch. We'll have to see. But one team I definitely want to bring to your attention here, I mentioned Ashen Frost earlier, and that's on Team Wind Goes Burr. Very crisp, and Ashen Frost are going to be subbing out. It's just Wolf to bring in Doc, and that's going to be a very big adjustment to make. They are currently in the standings, I believe, sitting in rank number 12 or 13 to get into the qualifier, so they definitely need to play another one to try to get into that top 10 finish, along with Team World Tier. They're kind of in the same boat, so we'll have to see if there's going to be any improvement as far as what their strategy is going to be. I do know for a fact, though, very crisp on that giant mini map that he likes to enlarge is going to be running a lot of foresight, and you have to imagine that that's going to be something very interesting in terms of pathing and in terms of what fights they're going to be engaging in.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, we've talked about foresight in the past. It's niche. It's all about earning the value as opposed to being given the value. So it's going to be interesting to see if Crisp does continue that. You know, I haven't particularly watched him outside of a couple of events, so we'll see if he pulls that one back out. That'll be interesting to see how they use it, if they're positioning for it to find fights, which they could do. If they're using it for positioning on the map toward the end game. If they're trying to get some mana vaults out of it. So foresight, definitely the biggest information based talent that you can get in the game. But I think we're going to be getting game number 1 underway very shortly. We have confirmation that our players are going to be in the game, so we'll be swapping over to that very shortly. And it's going to be 1 of 8, and we will see. I'm excited. You know, it's funny because you brought up Conduit Abuser. Don't we have like a player like in this scene named like Conduit Main or like Conduit Easy or something? Like, I think
you're thinking of Gigabyte.
No, I'm not thinking. I know there's like someone that's name is like Lol Conduit Main or something. I wonder if it's the same player.
I don't know.
Maybe they hit a 2-week timer on their name and they swapped it over to Conduit Abuser. But we're jumping in game number 1. We're automatically on cherry times. They're going to be over on the north hand side. They landed on a mana vault, presumably, because you know they have the 1 scroll and the legendary boots. That's an interesting decision to make because there's really just not that much loot around here. The 3 of them are kind of like early looting together, but hey, look, the feather falls in hand, so we'll see. I really doubt that that's something he's going to stay on, but we will see. We will see.
You know, I always make a joke here. Whenever you're a conduit and you pick up Featherfall, you're just trying to trigger that PTSD of release Spellbreak whenever we had a little bit of aim assist bugging going on. But you know what? That's all behind us here. Cherry time. Going to have to see if he adjusts his rune, see if he picks up something else. He does get the offhand Toxic, so plenty of damage that's able to be had out of his current kit. Picks up a nice upgrade onto the Lightning as well. And interesting kit that he's running here. Usually we see conduit mains run recovery instead of thirsty, but maybe he's looking to just stay purely in the back line and provide maybe a little bit of residual healing for the rest of his team. I'll have to see how that works out for him. But in terms of their loot, definitely need to do a better job. Definitely need to spread the love and spread the travel out. They aren't exactly in, like you said, the best density of looting areas. So I would imagine they want to go towards Verdant Estate, maybe go into the maze, get a little bit of loot from there, and then try to engage. But as I'm saying that, we do have a little bit of action there in the kill feed. Do have Gadling and Doc going to go ahead and trade a little bit. Very Crisp is going to go down. Nigel also in a engagement here onto Team Scuff Squad, and really just action going on all over the place. No complete exiles just yet, but plenty of disruptions so far.
Yeah, it's going to be Wind Goes Burr facing off against Boomers and Sun. So we do see a little bit of trading now. Going to be jumping into the perspective of Street Face 45. He's going to be moving around real nice and speedy. One of his teammates is going to be down, and he's just trying to get this little bit of a reset. You know, it's this early game fight. He doesn't really have a ton in the way of shields or anything, any kind of potions like that. But we're actually going to be watching. Looks like Cubby going to be trying to get his teammate up. That's Cactus Lord is going to get up, but unfortunately not going to be able to stay alive. And now it's going to be all in the hands of Street Face. He has to make a play. But again, these are those early fights. They're so hard to guarantee and really to outplay your enemy. You're kind of just at the mercy of whatever you had. And that's going to be Nemo is going to take down Street Face. That's going to be the disruption. The last player left alive is Cubby. He is a bit healthy, has this high ground positioning, might be able to make a play happen, but it looks like the 3-man squad not going to let it happen. That's Nigel, Nemo, and Dworky coming out from CNT. They're going to go ahead and knock him down. And I don't know if I'm actually saying Nemo's name right. I don't know. It's like
that's correct.
Okay, cool. Got some Silent K action. But look at this. The third party already jumping in. They are decently healthy. At least Nemo is. It does look like Dworky's in a bit of a dangerous position. But they finished up that first fight. And now it's just about kind of retreating, grouping back up together, maybe picking a focus target. The lightning strike going to come down onto Nemo. So Nemo getting focused very heavily. And he does still have quite a bit left in the tank. But no, he's going to have to be forced to shockwave. Look at that. No, it's not going to happen. The shockwave's not going to be able to be enough to keep that health, to keep the healing going. He didn't really have a ton of mobility and not much of a follow-up or peel from his teammates because they were very, very low, and now it looks like Nemo might be getting exiled. Unfortunately, EU King of NA, Dome Carry, is going to get that exile for his teammate.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? I'm not actually seeing on our list that we do have a team here. So this actually might be no, it's Hermaeus Mora's team. This is what's going on. So Foe. Yeah, I am wrong. So EU King of NA is actually Foe on our list here on the team scores. If you type in exclamation scores, you might see a little bit of discrepancy between in-game names and what we have listed as far as I believe Discord names. But just keep in mind that Foe is going to be EU King of NA, going ahead and bringing the drop onto Nemo there. So we do have Tacos and his team Prospect going to be rotating in. It looks like towards that same area that we just saw the quick disruption. And in the kill feed, we also see a little bit of Mike Wazowski getting into the action here. Now, this one I can say for sure we don't have Mike Wazowski on our list here. So it looks like just a random team filling in here for BNAG. We'll have to see how that works out for him as Noace does get a nice disruption. But Tacos and his team of Team Prospect really rotating around, trying to keep control of this wall. They will have to rotate it in just a little bit more into the next zone. Looks like they've pinged out another team here, so we'll see how these things can unfold.
Yeah, and I have to just say I love the uniformity. It's one thing to be a team and to have good coordination, but it's another thing to wear all of the exact same rarity of items. That's definitely some amazing coordination coming out from them. They're going to be all in that rare gear, but obviously that's not planned. But it does look like they're hanging out here on the edge. Tacos is rocking the Spell Slinger. Definitely something that's going to be interesting to see him put that to work. Look at those lightning bolts coming out, just that offhand lightning, putting out that damage. That's not even going to be Squall buff. He's just going to be standing on the ground. But they're taking this engagement nice and slow. They don't have to force anything. He's actually just looking around. He might even grab that fervor. Nope, not going to grab the fervor scroll. Looks like this team fight is starting to break out. You have Captain Happy kind of leading the charge, and he's actually on the conduit. No, that's Hoof rather on the conduit. So they have a lot of lightning damage here, and he actually is going to swap that. Taco swaps that over for the Frost. Didn't actually recognize that right away, but they're just pushing his team back. That zone is going to be closing now, so we'll see if they go on ahead and full engage on this, or if they just go on ahead and decide to take it slow and rotate their way in. Again, unfortunately, though, just looking at the build, looking at the inventory, Taco's not having a ton of scrolls, so he's not going to be super knowledgeable this game, but it's all about just looking to find the damage. Again, they're going to be forced to move in here just momentarily, so now they have to go on ahead and make this charge. We'll see if this ends up turning into a fight. Both of these teams might just disengage. They realize, this could get a long, convoluted fight. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, it looks like Captain Happy's going to disagree with you there as he's going right in. Taco's taking a dangerous snipe up close against the Stone Shaper. We'll have to see if he can make that work out for him. But he is doing a great job of keeping the distance between the two teams here. Finds his opportunity to get some quick wind damage out. Needs to wait for his mana to recharge here for that last little fireball he can land. He is getting damaged quite a bit, though. That's going to be the quick disruption. That's Ashen Frost and Doc with the coordinated takeout on Captain Happy and Tacos. Now it's just left to Hoof here, seeing if he can get a quick little disruption onto one of our enemy teams. It's not looking like that's going to happen, though. It looks like, judging off the mini-map, that he will go ahead with a full flee, and it looks like Captain Happy and Tacos might be left out to dry here. Team Wind Goes Burr will pick up the thirst here. Captain Happy is going to go down along with Tacos. That must be Doc and Ashen Frost, and it looks like it is. A nice coordinated thirst and nice loot to pick up here going into the mid-game.
Yeah, and actually looking at the kill feed, well, I was gonna bring up Mike Wazowski and BNAG. Mike Wazowski actually disrupts himself. Not sure what's going on there. That might have been the timeout of a disruption into an exile. I think that's actually just a potential self-exile. I really don't know. Not really sure what happened there, but I was looking at the kill feed, and I think they might have taken out World Tier. I'm not sure. Not 100% sure, but they may have actually exiled all of World Tier. So we'll see how this develops. We have 16 players left alive, and Doc already just himself sitting on 3 kills. So presumably they have, 6 kills for Wind Goes Burr. They're going to be traversing toward the high ground. They actually do see this team kind of in their west direction. You see Ashen Frost kind of taking point. He's going to be on that Tempest. So he might have a little bit more information. He's going to be relaying that over to his teammate. They're going to be looking at this.
That's going to be a big pickup. Yeah, it's going to be a big pickup for Chris there on the Legendary Lightning. You know that he likes to make that lightning go buzz. And with focus mana that he normally runs, along with potential energy and power surge, that's going to be a lot of damage. Not as much as it could be. He usually likes to run Foresight with his build. But if he is opting for the Fervor this time around, you can only imagine how oppressive that's going to be. Nice Frost coming out here from, I believe, Ashen Frost. Going to go ahead and get a nice little bit of damage onto his opponent here. Doc, unfortunately, going to slide down the mountain, but able to recover here, getting a little bit higher. And that's really kind of the story of this entire game here. Whoever controls this mountain really controls the pace of the game. And you're seeing Doc really valuing that a lot. And that's going to be a quick little exile, very crisp. Going to pick up the last hit onto that one. So that's TTV Gator. Tots going to go ahead and get out of this lobby for the moment. We're going to see Doc just sort of rotate around. It looks like Ashen Frost will go ahead and get the Thirst going. That's a nice little pickup if Doc can go ahead and rotate, get the legendary fire that was on the ground just then. Looks like he's going to be playing a little bit aggressively, though. Going to eat a quick little stun. Going to eat a lot of lightning bolts. That is very, very dangerous. Going to get down to about half health. The recovery having to work overtime. That's another stun coming out. Unfortunate for Doc, not able to play the game today. But he is doing a great job of switching off and recovering. So we'll have to see if they can rotate back up to the top of this mountain, get a little bit of a vantage point. But for right now, having to retreat.
Yeah, a little bit of a retreat. And your mom, looking at the kill feed, looks like they were able to pick up a few kills themselves. But you called it. Whoever controls this mountain is going to be in that power position. You do see Doc just kind of sieging for it, using the Shadow Step. That actually gives him some decent positioning. It looks like they were able to lose kind of that sight line of him. Now the enemy player going to use that flight room, just trying to disengage. But Doc is still stuck on this teammate here.
Ooh!
Nice shot in the mid area, as you called it there. They're just full engaging, but now they slow it down. They're going to hold their positioning. Still a lot of damage coming their way, and presumably they might have a Thirsty. We'll see if they can get some of that shared healing, but look at the boulder falls just coming back. This team, enemy team, going to be full engaging now as Doc and his team looking to kind of back themselves up. He's trying to use that Firefly, doesn't quite connect with it, and unfortunately that's Calcufated. He's going to find that first disruption. Very Chris going to be low, presumably not in a position to find a reset with any shards. But for now, they've actually been able to slow it down. This might be two kind of sieging teams. You can see the positioning from Doc. He's kind of pulling himself down. Chris is going to be taking some damage, and unfortunately, Ashen Frost maybe not in the best position to help, but there could be a potential reset if he can get himself over to Doc. That's going to be Eureka's, is going to find that full exile onto Chris, so Chris not going to be able to stay in this one, but 12 players left in total, and this could be some kind of a decent positioning. Now we're on to Hermias Mora, as again, they're just constantly fighting for this high ground. Kyrie Caitlyn is going to get that disruption onto Dome Carry, and Hermias Mora just keeping himself in the air, is going to be using the conduit with the offhand stone. So you might want to get control of that high ground, is using that flight rune as well. So we'll see him get back up to the top. He does have the one teammate down from Dome Carry. So that was going to be exiled potentially from Kyrie Caitlyn, but we'll see how this one develops now. Using that flight rune to keep himself up in the sky. The boulder fall is going to drop down, not going to connect with that shockwave. And this is just a back and forth fight. Multiple teams, OSK, just trying to get control of this high ground.
Yeah, I gotta say though, Palpu Promise definitely getting the better part of these trades, keeping control of that mountain as we were talking about here. And it looks like, from what I can see on the minimap, that this is actually exactly where the final zone is going to end. So they're getting a very good head start coming in here. We can see on Kyrie Caitlyn with the Fervor build onto her famed Tempest. We do have Thirsty and Spellslinger as well, so plenty of options to cover both the long and close ranges. Looks like she's going to go ahead and just full send off this team here, trying to get a few last hits in, trying to CS a little bit, and it looks like the wind spam will come out. Calculated will pick up the elimination there, the nice little exile. And look at this, their team is so healthy right now. There's really no fear to be had right here, even though that their gauntlet rarity isn't really the best. They do have that little bit of uncommon talent, so we'll have to see if they can do a great job of keeping control of this higher ground. Looks like this Stone Shaper does have a little bit of room to landscape the ground just a little bit, so having to back off and respect that just a little bit more than what you would normally. Trying to land a few little wind slaps to interrupt the healing out of this little enemy team, and that's going to be Calculated, picking up the nice disruption onto Eldgold. That's going to be Team 8 losing a member there, and looks like this might be the final member, and looks like Eureka is going to go ahead and get disrupted by Liloxio. So still a lot of action to be had. This looks like we're in our last little 1v1 between squads, and that's a lot of damage coming out from Kyrie. We'll have to see how it transfers over. That's a full health opponent, though, and Kyrie's going to go down. This is a little bit dangerous for Team Palpu Promise, and looks like our team right here with Hoof and Team Prospect might get the better part of it.
Yeah, Hoof has still been in it this whole time, all the way back since whenever his teammates were eliminated. Is he going to be able to sneak out a win? Not going to be able to do it. Unfortunately, that's Calcu-Fated going to pull it away. Palpu Promise is going to take game number 1. And the fact that we had no information about Hoof for a long time there. And, you know, I didn't know if he actually was able to get away. You called it earlier when his teammates were disrupted that he was just going to full disengage. But that's the Solar Bear special, I want to call it. You know, you kind of sneak away, you jump back in, you see if you can snag the win. He got close to it, I'm not gonna lie, but unfortunately not gonna let it they're not gonna let that happen. But Hoof gets the second place finish for Team Prospect, so that could turn into a throwaway game. We'll have to see. If you guys aren't aware, we're going to be playing 8 games in total, 4 in NA East, 4 on EU, and then we'll be taking the top 6 performances. So we'll see if that's enough. That might be just a throwaway game. They may pop off for the rest of the event and not even need that game, but hey, a second place finish.
Yeah, not too bad. That's definitely a good job from Hoof to stay hidden during that entire engagement there. You know how difficult it is whenever you're getting into a swarm of squads, just like we saw there. I think at one point there were about 12 people left in the lobby with the final zone closing in. So definitely a great job to not really draw that much attention to himself. Maybe a little bit of bush strats, maybe a little bit of hiding beneath some of the bridges that were there in the Stone Tooth Mountain area. But overall, just a great job to make the best out of a bad situation for Team Prospect here. We're getting those stats here finalized for game 1 pretty quickly. If you would like to check on the scores as they are being updated, of course, feel free to hit exclamation scores in the chat. That will bring up our nice little Google Excel sheet that we are looking at right now. And currently in the standings, you can see Papu Promise bringing out that win. And on the back here of really Calcu-Fated and Kyrie Caitlin with the Tempest there, and pretty even amount of exiles and damage among all 3 of those members. So definitely a lot of coordination, definitely a lot of good game sense coming out, and a decent amount of exiles to boot there.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't see a ton of them throughout the course of that game, but when we finally did get on board with Kyrie, you know, they were just fully healthy. You made note of it when we were in the game. They were all very, very healthy. They were controlling that high ground. It felt like it was one main team kind of picking off the little leftover pieces of basically every other team, whether there was already a disruption on the field or already a full exile. People were just like backing off that high ground to have to reset. So it was kind of like really solid, right? Like they kept themselves strong. I'm not sure what part of the map where they came into the fold at, but whatever the case may be, they were able to keep it together, one big unit, and then kind of dominate that high ground. And that was the name of it. That's where the zone ended. It was kind of like the fight for the high ground prior to that zone, you know, actually pulling in that direction, because that's just like the best positioning, especially for Stone Shapers, if you can just hold that high ground position. But the zone closes there, and the team that was like in the most healthy position was able to lock it up.
Yeah, definitely. We always see that be a popular place to sort of have the zone finish. I think I've seen it at least 4 times this week between competitive events, between scrims and of course qualifier number 8 here. So definitely not an uncommon place for it to finish. And of course, with that mountain, you have to imagine it's a Stone Shaper's paradise in today's world with how the hitbox works. They tend to slide down those steep slopes quite frequently. So definitely a good place to be for Calcu-Fated, rocking that stone the way that he did, was able to seal out quite a bit of exiles. Even though the damage might not have been the highest, those last hits definitely count for those 15 points that you desperately need to climb up these standings here. And it looks like our production squad is letting us know that we will go ahead and re-queue into this lobby. So we'll be just a little bit of a longer time getting into game number 2. But in the meantime, we got plenty to talk about here. Let's talk about currently how the scores are standing up. Looks like Win Goes Burr actually got the better part of those games here, picking up 9 exiles, over 2,000 damage, and despite the 5th place finish, sitting comfortably here at 1st place.
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, that's kind of the beauty of the format, right? They were actually in a position where they got a lot of fights. And not only did they get a lot of fights, they won a lot of fights. They weren't able to lock up the game in total, but that just would have added to their point gain just a little bit more. So really showing you the kind of the weight of the format and how you can really put up some good performances by being a very aggressive team if you want to. Now, you may not always be able to score on a game like that if you end up getting into a really good mid-game fight and it just doesn't quite pay off for you. But with 8 chances, that might be something that every team needs to be considering, as having at least 1 or 2, just flood down the hold down the W key, just press it forward, hold the analog stick forward, whatever you got to do to just get, the potential to score a game like that. And then who knows, you might win on top of it. It might be your best performance that, can really soak up some of the other performances if you're not having a super consistent day. But yeah, so that's pretty interesting to see them in that first place position. They were not even the winners of game number 1, but so much damage and so many exiles there.
Yeah, Ashen Frost definitely carrying the damage score out of that one on the Tempest, and I believe he rocks the Frost quite frequently in the offhand. So definitely one to watch for going forward here. They are a fully EU team, so they are playing on their off server currently and still picking up the amount of exiles and damage that they are currently. Definitely something to pay attention to going into the later part of these games. One team that dropped out a little bit earlier than I would like with a little bit of lower score would have to be CNT. They did end up finishing in third place there, but they did lose Nemo fairly early on. So a bit of an early game mistake there, but we'll have to see if they can make some quick adjustments. They are also a fully EU team. So definitely a little bit of leeway going on the off region, but going into the second half, definitely look for them to pop off just like they did in qualifier number 5. But I really want to bring your attention the importance of getting those early thirsts out, because even if you can quickly thirst one out, that's going to be an extra 15 points to your team. And while it might theoretically be worth it to let them get to full health and then damage them all over again and then get the exile that way, I mean, sealing out an easy 15 points while you can, probably the more important of the two there.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. Just looking at the scores again, just the fact that Ashen Frost had 5 exiles, just himself 1,101 damage, really like putting the team on the back. Almost does he's just shy a little bit of covering this damage that his 2 teammates had. And again, like you said, CNT, I think if I remember correctly, I think they actually fell to Wind Goes Burr. So that might have been, why we weren't able to see them go as far as they might be able to in these coming up games. But we are going to be jumping into game number 2 very shortly. And again, number 1 position is going to be Wind Goes Burr. Unfortunately for Paupu Promise, they'll have to pick up some of those exiles, those kills, if they want to close that gap. They're not going to be too far behind. And if they can stay consistent, continue to win some games, then they'll definitely be in a position to do so. But game number 2 is going to be underway shortly. We'll see if there are any changes, any fundamental changes. World Tier, again, not going to be able to stay in the game number 1 as long as they would have liked. So we'll see what kind of adjustments they can make. And they actually fought up against the BNAG Mike Wazowski team pretty early on. I think that was kind of what caught them off guard. So we'll see. Maybe that was actually a dust pool positioning as well, because I think that's what at least that's where Gigabyte likes to land. But we're going to be early game fighting with Ashen Frost here, and look at this. That's going to be that first disruption coming out. That's cherry time, and I actually think that fight is over. I think it's already done for.
Yeah, that's Team Wind Goes Burr getting off to a fantastic start here in Ruby Grove. Plenty of loot to go around. Definitely some high density, what we'd like to see out of our contestants here. And that is going to be Team Slackers. Going to be out very, very early on. So easy exiles for Team Wind Goes Burr. You can see that they weren't really hurting too much in terms of health, in terms of shields here. 2 of them actually didn't even have belts at the time. So definitely great team play there to compensate for the lack of early pressure, especially for Ashen Frost too, and for Very Chris for that matter, because we know that Tempest and Conduit a little bit wanting in the early stages of the game, but proving that it doesn't really matter all that much whenever you can coordinate the way that you can on Wind Goes Burr. So great pickup to start off the game here, and they will undoubtedly be looking for more action going into the Sawtooth Mountain area. Another great high-density loot area. It looks like it's already pinged out on the green there, and there's actually another team there. If you saw on the top right of your screen, they might be getting into an early engagement here for the early game. So we'll have to see how that plays out for them, but I do believe that they are aware of it for right now.
Yeah, now we're swapping over to Dwerky, and just like that, Primo Tastic puts out some insane damage, has that teammate just to, kind of back him up, and Dwerky is so split from his team. That's going to be a full finish by Gigabyte, so unfortunately, as we do swap over to Gigabyte's perspective, that's Dwerky going down super early, just kind of caught out, so CNT, maybe not going to have their best game number 2 yet again. It does look like Gigabyte and No Ace are going to be kind of rotating around. It looks like Gigabyte actually trying to peel for No Ace. No Ace going to be taking a bit of damage here at Whitgrave. We'll see if he can get some decent positioning. He's going to be playing that conduit, Gigabyte on the conduit, not nothing, you know, foreign to us, but he's going to get that high ground position, and they'll see if they take this full engagement. You actually see that enemy player going to be on that half HP, so lots of damage potential. And again, it's early game, so some of these builds probably aren't super flushed out. Some of these players probably don't have belts. This is one of those positions where if you are the team that has that dominant loot, has the positioning, is pretty healthy, this might be the perfect scenario to push some fights and get some early exiles.
Yeah, definitely. Whitgrave, a great place to go ahead and loot up, and definitely a lot of early action here, especially if you're on the Stone Shaper, just like Primotastic. Definitely a great opportunity to landscape the yard right in front there, the little courtyard. And looks like Ashen Frost going to go ahead and make that win go burr onto, looks like Dunstock. And look at that, Ashen Frost with all 3 disruptions, all 3 exiles. He will be looking very, very good going into the mid-game stages here. That's 6 exiles for Team Win Goes Burr already 2/3 of the way to their previous score. Just have to keep an eye on that damage, but man, it's looking pretty good early on.
Yeah, Win Goes Burr is definitely the team to watch right now, as they're going to be holding that first place position just off damage and exiles alone, and already leading this game with what I believe is going to be 6 exiles just to start. 31 players left remaining. Lots of placement, lots of potential fights, you know, on the board for this team. So game number 2 looking really, really good for Win Goes Burr. That zone is going to be closing in, so we'll see them rotating, but plenty of health potions, and it's just that first zone, so nothing to be too worried about. So Ashen Frost is going to be moving through the map. And one thing to note, very, very interesting, Ashen Frost is like, we have like basically, I believe, if you know, correct me if I'm wrong, we have 3 like Tempest players in this event, and Ashen Frost is going to be one of the only Tempest players, or the only Tempest player that I've seen out of the 3 that's not going to be running Fervor. He's running this 2-2-2 build, which is very interesting, kind of prioritizing the runic over, you know, something like Spellslinger or Focus Mana and Fervor. So, you know, a very interesting take. I'm not going to say it's wrong or right. I don't know. I'm not much of a Tempest player, but it's definitely something to think about for all you Tempest players or potential Tempest players out there, to see some of this build subjectivity and that playstyle change. It's also using that offhand Frost Gauntlet, so maybe just doesn't feel like it's that spell cast speed because he's rocking the Frost Gauntlet.
Yeah, I'll have some comments on that here later on, but it looks like, as we see, just like game 1 here for Team CNT, one of their members will be down here pretty early on, but it will be Dwerky this time instead of Nemo. We'll see how that brings in the adjustment here. They won't have as much of a backline as Dwerky was rocking the conduit here, so definitely a lot of damage need to be happening very, very early on up front, but it will be a 2v3 situation for pretty much every one-on-one engagement that they go into. So we'll have to see how they rotate out. Really hugging the outside of the zone here, utilizing the blinding effect that it has whenever you're looking into it. So doing a great job of that. Looks like they'll be rotating off towards this Mana Vault, or at least in the same direction. I don't know if they really want a full send on the Mana Vault there, but looks like they'll be looking to take over this mountain here. And again, they're making great use of rotating around this bit of high ground here, trying to really keep track of where the enemy teams could potentially be perched on to prevent any sort of bad angle that they could be approached from. But it looks like we'll have Team Boomers and Sun taking over that mountain here. They will have to keep an eye out for Team CNT, but they are full 3 members against 2, so definitely not a bad engagement to take if they so want to. That's a nice pickup from Gadling. And of course, rocking the Featherfall here, and at this point, you have to imagine it is by choice. They've had plenty of time to loot up, and Featherfall going to be working out well. And No Way's proven that fire is going to work well for him, picking up the early exile on Hermaeus Mora. Just 2 more team members to go for this squad wipe.
Yeah, 2 more left to go, and they're going to be in a pretty healthy position. Just looking at Primotastic's full belt there, he's in a very, very strong position. So now they just take their time. They don't have to force this. Mike Wazowski actually in this game again, that's a disruption onto Kyrie Caitlyn. So Kyrie might be going down here early, and look at that, Hermaeus Mora getting fully exiled by Noace. So we already have some of these teams are just losing one player. Noace actually going to get tagged up by that Ice Lance, and this is a disengage from this positioning. Might be just looking to push over towards his teammates, try to see if they can finish up whatever fight they're in before that third party comes in. But Noace and his squad, they might just peel out of here. They got one. They don't want to, you know, push it too far. And look at the kill feed. That's Eureka's, Calcufaded, and Kyrie Caitlyn. Team Paupu is going to go down at the hands of Mike Wazowski, but Doc is looking to answer back on that fight.
Yeah, it looks like that's a full exile out to Mike Wazowski BNAG. That's that random team getting out. So probably a third-party situation there. Unfortunate that Papu Promise going to go out to one of the random teams that filled in here. Not a part of this event, but a part of just the Spellbreak matchmaking that we do see here. But it will be Wind Goes Bird taking the better part of that trade. So right now, it looks like from what I'm seeing, they are looking at three more exiles to their name. So that's 9 so far, already looking to surpass their previous game 1 performance. And that's a nice snipe coming out from Tacos. The double shadow step here, he will not have any movement, and you have to imagine they're going to be looking to approach on here, taking advantage of this. And look at that, Tacos already trying to peel out, trying to get this early exile going on. That's not a lot of health that the enemy is sitting on, not a lot of time for a reset. And Tacos, man, he's smelling the blood with that wolf skin. You have to imagine that he is looking for all of this early action. That's going to be an easy fireball, 2 easy fireballs, 3. Nigel will go ahead and be disrupted. Team CNT will be put down to 1 remaining member.
You know, I have to say it, had it not been for Tacos being a Tempest player, he might not have seen that hiding spot. But look at this, the engagement is going down. Gigabyte going to find that first disruption onto Cap and Happy, and now Tacos and Hoof left to kind of pick up the slack. Do you have Tacos with this offhand Frost Gauntlet trying to land a shot? Is going to connect with 1. Is he going to find the second? That launching player through the sky, not going to connect here. But Cap and Happy and Tacos in a decently comfortable position. But oh no, the lightning strikes, they'll strike. The lightning bolts all down now. Tacos having to reposition, and this is most likely going to be the end of the game for Cap and Happy. But Tacos is in a power position. He has to have the control of this high ground. A nice shot. The mid-air shot. Squall Icelands is going to connect against No Ace. No Ace goes down, and Cap and Happy has found himself into a nice, comfortable groove for Tacos to pick him back up.
You don't know how happy that makes me to see Tacos get such a highlight reel in some of these competitive events. Not really one to participate in some more of these competitive events. I know he's been doing scrims a lot, but man, that is such a nice snipe to come out here on the big screen. Now we do have him rotating around here, trying to land some quick little fireballs. Rocking the common win, but it's not going to matter because that fire hits really, really hard. Looking to land a snipe. And it's just going to miss off to the right there. Very, very close. The re-entry on the updraft, not going to get that one either. That's all right, though. He has plenty of time to reset, regroup with his team here. Definitely pushing the advantage that they have and really just looking for any sort of better wind here. You know how painful it is to drain so much mana whenever you're trying to move around with your common option there. That's going to be a nice squall-buffed fireball going straight into the face of his opponent, looking for another one onto that Frost. And look at this, looking to line it up, not going to get that one. Just needs to line up just a little bit tighter, missing a little bit horizontally, maybe a little bit of an adjustment to be made for the next few games or in the middle of this match, but that's going to be a nice fireball going on to that enemy here. Looking for that snipe, I would imagine he is. We'll see how it works out for him. Looking to line it up, not going to get that one. We'll have to rotate in and see how this late game unfolds, Crashy.
Yeah, and you know, they're in a pretty decent position. I was going to say they kept themselves rather healthy. Tacos doesn't have any more shields. Not sure if he's going to be able to get any from his teammates. Not sure if they have any. But just looking at Tacos here, he has the common wind gauntlet, and he has 0 scrolls. It's one of those positions it's just tough to be in. Perplexity actually getting a knock onto Calibus, and we'll see lots of action. Look at this Iceland's action from Tacos. Will he be able to find that second? No, but Tacos is in full engagement now. That shadow step. He's looking to find that low teammate, that low enemy rather. Is he going to be able to follow up? They do have lots of action going on here, back-to-back action. Cap and Happy going to find himself on no shield. And look at this, Tacos tracking this player is going to be the expert tracker. Not going to want to let him get through here. But the maze, it might be the best place to get lost. But no, Tacos has the sky and he takes the shot. Ashen Frost goes down to the better Tempest in this game.
Oh man, that's such a big statement coming out from Tacos here. You have to imagine that's a big blow to Wind Goes Burr. Ashen Frost doing the most damage out of game 1, and I would imagine a fair bit of it here in game 2 as well. We'll see if they can get the thirst off. It looks like that might not be the case. They will have to back off. There's plenty of pressure coming in from more than just one squad. So looking to pick up a more defensive position is Tacos here in his squad of Team Prospect, Captain Happy, and Who. Now we're looking at a bit of a re-engage coming in here. You have to imagine that Ashen Frost did get picked back up, and he did. That will be a quick little disruption from Ashen Frost straight onto Tacos. Wind, or rather Lightning, will go ahead and ruin the Tempest's day. Gigabyte will also ruin Captain Happy's day. It's just one more teammate remaining for Team Hoof. Ashen Frost actually getting picked up a second time, so Team Wind Goes Burr with the expert coordination and rotation coming out, able to make a great situation out of a pretty bad one to start.
And look at that positioning from Wind Goes Burr. It's not always just about being the team that's in the dominant high ground position or always winning every single fight. They were crouched in a corner, a little cubby, all three of them. And this is a tiny zone, OSK. Even just the zone pool right now, lots of action, but there's 18 players, rather 14 players now left alive. Street Face 45 just trying to kite. Whatever he can do is going to be on the 1 HP. Will he be able to stay alive now, buying himself some time inside? Look at the sorcery cancel coming out. He's trying to do everything in his power just to squeal away to get a small reset. He's going to be able to do so. Now the quick action coming out, the vanishing mist. He finds himself in a very similar position as Wind Goes Burr, but now swapping over to Gigabyte, and his team does look like Primo-tastic going to be very low. All three of these players very low, but this is just nonstop action. All of these teams, all of these players are going to be very low and just fighting for disruptions, fighting for damage, whatever they can do. This is pretty much anybody's game at this point, OSK. Gigabyte taking a little bit of damage, but is going to use some of those health pots, and very crisp. Finds one, finds two. That's Cubby and Street Face getting disrupted. Doc going to find one of his own onto No Ace, and the back-to-back action is here as Nemo unfortunately gets self-disrupted, probably falling down to the zone.
Yeah, probably the zone, definitely. Not really one to fall in the fracture there, but Gigabyte has to be very, very careful. The zone will eat up most of his health if he is going to let it happen. Thankfully, he will not. Doc getting a little bit slowed from a flash freeze, but Perplexity will go down to his fireball, and plenty of health potions to still go around here. Ashen Frost, you can see, is going to go ahead and be disrupted. This is a very, very difficult spot to be and a very awkward spot to be if you are Team Wind Goes Burr. But looks like Street Face actually gets picked back up here, the remaining member of his team for Scuff Squad. We'll have to see if he can pull one out here. It's going to be very, very difficult. Thankfully, the Toxicologist tools will allow for a lot of movement and a lot of damage. That's going to be a quick little disruption onto No Ace. Plenty of damage going his way for the scores here. Wavy making great use of this corner here, getting the quick reset off. We'll have to see if it works out for him in the long run here. Looking to get a little bit of combust, but it's going to be a double freeze, so not able to make use of that. 50 damage coming out, looking for a little bit more. It's not going to land that one, but it will land on this next one. That is going to be Perplexity getting Primo-tastic out. Now we're looking for a little bit of stun. We're looking for a little bit of fireballs. Will it land is the question. We got 3 more squads still in this area, and we're going to have to see how that pays out for him. Wavy, the only remaining member of this particular squad, not a part of our event, but still looking for some action. That's actually going to be the end of Wind Goes Burr, but plenty of damage, plenty of exiles to go around. They're probably feeling pretty good about game number 2. Still on Wavy here. He will be exiled, and that will be team, looks like World Tier, taking on game number 2. That's a first place finish.
Yeah, World Tier. That whole game was just like the battle of attrition, right? Like every single player was low. Every single player was finding themselves in these little corners. They were getting down. They're getting themselves picked up. Apparently, the guy next door is weed whacking right outside my window. I don't know if you can hear that.
Hey, got to landscape all you can. Stone Shapers can't be alone, man.
Yeah, but even all the way down to that last little bit where Wavy had control of the high ground and that enemy player was like pushing up towards him, the double freeze happens. It was just, it was constant action about teams finding their comfortable position to kind of reset. Sometimes you had to get a disruption just to be able to do it. Teammate would go down, Gigabyte kind of squealing away, and the castle picks his teammate back up. It was just back to back to back. Taco's getting an insane disruption on Ashen Frost, and then boom, next thing you know, his entire team is gone, and Ashen Frost continues to go forward. So it was that was a crazy game. I mean, I actually dare say we might not see a game crazier than that one in the rest of this qualifier. But hey, we have 6 more games to go.
I'll tell you what, 2 games so far, 2 incredibly chaotic final zones. A little bit of an awkward spot too. You don't normally see it on these sort of mountain finishes or on these crazy little tower finishes where there's plenty of inlets to kind of hide in. There's little bitty alleyways that you can fit in between the zone and the outer walls of some of these structures. But just a really good job of World Tier to sort of navigate that out for a first place finish. But I do have to say, that's a very, very good game 2 finish for Team Wind Goes Burr here. They definitely got the better end of all those engagements here, picking up plenty of points. 11 exiles, over 3,000 damage between all of them here. Ashen Frost with actually the lowest damage of his team members there. Doc with the most of them, but Ashen Frost picking them off for the final hit on the exiles. So plenty of points to go around there. It was a little bit unfortunate to see Team Palpu go out so early to that random team that did come in. But it just goes to show you have to be ready for anything that can happen. It's not just the competitors that you're up against, it's also the lobby itself. So we'll have to see if they can make some adjustments going forward. Do want to also point out Taco's getting a nice little exile. Unfortunately for his team, that is the only exile that they will pick up. So a little bit of a jumbled mess is that little game there, and still waiting on the final scores from Team World Tier. But I would have to imagine that first place finish feeling really good going forward.
Yeah, I mean, again, Win Goes Burr has found themselves in a situation where they're having a pop-off event and they're not winning games, which is, again, it's a testament to the format and the fact that, listen, this game, I'm only going to bring this up because, like, and this is a little bit meta, but like part of the job of the casters is to like tell the story, right? And the best story that we can tell is like how different this BR is to other BRs, where you do see a lot of slow play. You do see a lot of controlling buildings, sitting in boxes. You know what I mean? And in this game, there's so much mobility. We have a format that promotes fighting. It's very, very action packed, and it comes down to micro decisions. Playing as a team is one thing. Having a 3v3 fight in an open field and a min game is one thing. But these crazy end games, it comes down to really solid communication. Comes down to quick decision making, and I mean that's really, really going to separate the really great teams from the good teams. And I love to watch it, man. It's a blast. It's an absolutely action-packed, kind of a nonsensical mess. But when it comes down to the actual micro decisions and the teams that are making it happen, seeing that consistency, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, definitely. And it just really goes to show how little tiny little outplays definitely add up over time here. You might have the meme here of you can tell a new player by how they're moving whenever you go up against them in the lobbies. But whenever you get to the very, very tip top of all this competitive play, it really just goes to show who's making the more proactive decisions going forward in all these lobbies. Who is consciously thinking about, hey, is my team rotating back, or are we as a team trying to take this high ground position that's going to affect whether I go up to this platform or maybe I go to the one on the left to kind of loop around and get a little bit of a backline engagement. It's really just these little bitty adjustments that you're trying to perfect, and that really adds up over time. Like you could be autopiloting, for example, and constantly rotating to the right during your fights, but eventually someone's going to pick that up and then lead their fireballs in a certain way to pick you off. So definitely, it's just those little bitty micro decisions that you're making. Maybe it's something you're not realizing going into these engagements, but they all add up over time. And that's something that these teams can exploit, something that is the difference between a 5th place finish and a 1st place finish. And it's definitely something that we're seeing coming into game 3 here pretty soon.
Yeah, speaking of game 3 soon, we do have confirmation that we'll be dropping in. Unless anything happens, we should be jumping in momentarily. And I'm just looking at the scoreboard, and man, that last game was super scrappy. And like you said, Doc doing the most damage for his team, might even be the most damage in that game. I believe it is going to be over 1,300 damage just himself alone. And it was just, Win Goes Burr back-to-back fights in that last one. And that might be their strategy. Who knows? Like, I really am not in the comms. I'm not in the ears of these players or in the minds of these players, but they're playing on their off region. Maybe it's just like, hey, look, let's just try to slay out. If we can have like a couple games where we slay out on our off region, then we can play conservatively. We can really play for like solid wins when we know we have a better scenario to do so. But we'll have to see. Oh, wait.
That's not conservative, my man. That's Ashen Frost picking it up.
Down?
Yep, he is thirsted, my man. They're not playing conservative at all. This is Ashen Frost coming out on his off region, still laying down the damage, and that will be 1 member down for Team Prospect. And you have to imagine that's going to hurt very, very badly for Tacos and the rest of his team. Thankfully, he has a bit of a better rarity of the wind so far, but no squall to be had just yet. It's a little bit too early for that, so let's see how he adjusts his play here. It's going to be very dangerous to approach here. He has to have all the confidence in the world, all the aim in the world to really make this work. And unfortunately, just the mana recharge. But the big damage from the fire, that's going to be Boo Bucha going to go ahead and go down. Now looking for target number 2. That's going to be an immediate exit out of the invisibility. So that's going to be 2 quick pickups for Tacos. Now I'd have to imagine the thirst is going to be coming out very quickly. That's going to be the last elimination from the Luxio. Here representing Team 8, picking up the final member of that team. Taco's having to look out for this third-party engagement, I would imagine, but that's going to be 2 exiles sent his way. Already better than game 2.
That's such an interesting thing that happened. I'm really curious. Like I know we jumped in just in the position that we're in now, but Cap and Happy got exiled by Ashen Frost, and I you know, as far as I see, I don't see them around. Maybe there was a miscommunication on where they were dropping, or I really don't know. Unfortunately, though, as it stands, Cap and Happy is going to be exiled fully out of the game. So it's going to leave Hoof and Tacos left to fend for themselves. We'll see if they can make it happen again. Tacos rocking the Tempest, something we don't see a ton in squads competitive, but we'll see if they can put it to good use. If he can put it to good use, like Ashen Frost, like Kyrie Caitlyn, the rest of the Tempest players in the lobby. We have 32 players left alive, and not a ton of action happening early on in this one. It looks like it's mostly kind of plateaued down to that mid-game simmer. Everybody's just looking for their loot, looking for their scrolls, and that's definitely something that they have to find. I feel like it's something that I've noticed. I don't actually know, because now that I'm looking at it, it may be a spectator buff sometime, spectator bug that doesn't show the scrolls. I could have swore Tacos just took a fervor scroll. Maybe it's just not recording it right now.
Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but we'll get a rain check on that and see how this unfolds here. It looks like we will have, I believe this might be Team Wind Goes Burr. That looks like Ashen Frost's skin, and he's moving like it. Oh my goodness, you see the quickness coming out of that movement. It's going to be Tempest versus Tempest, along with 2 members of Wind Goes Burr. We'll have to see how this unfolds for them. Taco's in a very, very healthy spot, though. The Fireball is going to be colliding. That's going to be one onto him there. The Ignite going to take hold, and it looks like we have a little bit of damage coming out. That's a lot of damage coming out from Tacos, and looking to land the snipe, but the reposition will come out. Won't be a clear shot. That will be a flame wall going to block that shot. Ashen Frost going to get the quick disruption onto Hoof there, and it's just Tacos remaining. This is going to be a very difficult thing to do, but that's 1 exile all the way out. That's 1 HP for Tacos, and this is going to be easy pickings for Very Crisp. This will be Team Wind Goes Burr with all their members still remaining. That'll be a quick little pickup onto Doc, and man, they have got to be feeling pretty good about that one.
Listen, unfortunate that whole fight, the whole early game, all the way from the position of Cap and Happy getting exiled early on, we had Wind Goes Burr finally pushing in and kind of like finishing the job. But I gotta say, that movement from Tacos to get that disruption on the Doc, that was disgusting. Absolutely top tier Tempest play, but unfortunately they're going to be down here in this game. So we're going to be watching again now on Wind Goes Burr, and they're already leading the charge. And look at this, Very Crisp is rocking a very supportive style of build. He's going to be that backliner, has the Foresight, has the Thirsty. Yep. So a really unique build. That specific build, I don't think we can say we've seen that at all. I don't think we've seen a team that has run the Conduit with Focus Mana, Foresight, and Thirsty. If so, maybe I'm wrong, but look at this right now.
Qualifier 5. They brought that out in Qualifier 5, my guy, and it worked out pretty well for them. Obviously not enough to qualify with their current standings, but definitely looking to improve their chances. Doing a pretty good job of doing that exact thing here on the NA side of things. But I can tell you right now, having watched the actual screen of Very Crisp going in, his mini map is blown up so huge. Doesn't give you more range on the view, but it gives you kind of like a bigger area to look in, if you know what I mean. It's just blown up in size.
Visual clarity for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually so funny to watch if you ever get a chance to. That's going to be a quick disruption onto Nessie Rubru here. And looking for the follow-up is Very Crisp. Not going to get the better angle out of that one here. Has to look out for some of these bushes. And already landscaping a little bit, trying to get a nice little bit of flat land to do the stone damage on. Going to interrupt this nice little res. That's actually the only thing that can interrupt a res is going to be a frost, or rather a frozen or a stun, and he's doing a great job of it. Very Crisp with the heads up play, getting that quick disruption onto barbecue chicken, one of my favorite foods, and Very Crisp also eating as well. Now we're looking for a little bit of stone damage and a little bit of lightning. That's going to be another exile onto Playboy Jarvie, and again, Team Wind Goes Burr, going Burr.
Yeah, finds 1, finds 2, finds 3. That's another team going to be exiled at the hands of Wind Goes Burr. And I think that they've started almost every single game, like going toward the mid game with like 6 exiles. Now, you know, we kind of talked about like what the potential play style from this team might be, and seeing the fact that they're using the Foresight, I really am going to assume that they're probably looking for the teams to fight. I think that they have a very large amount of confidence that they're already doing well. They're riding on the back of the momentum that they have from previous games, and it may just be Foresight time for the sake of, yeah, sure, end game positioning and finding a comfortable spot to set up at, but also just for the simple fact that they can actually see these enemy players and look to engage on them. So Crisp kind of leading the charge right now, and he's rocking I mean, it's a solid build. There's nothing more to say about it. Tempest, or Conduit rather, with the 2 charges of teleport, lots of high mobility, and he has the pocket stone gauntlet. And what I love about that is if you teleport behind your enemies, they may not be ready for a quick shockwave. So even though he has a very support style build, he can still do lots of damage for his team. And now you see him pushing in. This is another team on their radar potentially. They're going to be inside the zone, but they don't want to let any fight get away. Doc, Ashen Frost, and Very Chris have been dominating this qualifier.
Yeah, definitely. And while it might be too soon to say so far, I do believe if they do well in this qualifier, you are looking at the future comp of Spellbreak here. Maybe less so on the Tempest there. We don't really see a lot of people run it, but the Conduit Foresight play, this is definitely going to be something to look out for here when you're getting into the future of what you're trying to run here in Spellbreak Battle Royale squads. Now we see a little bit of Thirsty Knowledge coming out. This is actually Street Face playing just on the outside of Ruby Grove, so they will undoubtedly get a third-party situation going on. Is very crisp. And at this time, with Foresight pinging, you have to imagine that they are already aware of the rotation. Street Face might have actually just spotted them out here saying, hey, man, we got to get out of here. This is actually a very, very dangerous squad coming up on us. I can smell it in the air, and I don't want to smell it up close. Let's go ahead, get back to Avant-Garde here, get a little bit of a high ground position. I want to be looking for these long range engagements, but in the meantime, we do have, this is going to be Team Boomers and Sun up against Wind Goes Burr, actually doing pretty well for themselves so far. Gatling trying to make that Featherfall work, but Very Chris making it very difficult for him. And look at this, we have Gatling on 30 HP. This one team member, that's going to be Doc going down, but Ashen Frost says that's enough. I'll go ahead and trade, get the better part of this. And it's your boy Ross, the only remaining member of this team, trying to avoid all the snipes that he can. This is Ashen Frost looking to make a highlight reel. And it'll actually be It's Your Boy Ross trading back very, very easily. This is going to be Wind Goes Burr with 2 remaining teammates, and Ashen Frost going to absolutely get that Frost through the head of It's Your Boy Ross, saying, why are you running Frostborn, my guy? Tempest is the way to go.
Listen, I read it in the chat, but I'm going to say it myself. It looks like Wind Goes Burr is just farming this qualifier right now. And hey, no disrespect to any of the other competitors, but this team is just putting on a clinic. You see Doc is going to be healing himself back up. Cherry Time finds a couple in the kill feed as well, so that's going to be Eldergold going to be falling down. And that's going to be team, I'm trying to remember their name. I'm looking for it. Where are they? Crap.
they're somewhere there. I could probably pull it up for you. Who were you saying one more time?
Eldergold. They're teammate. It's like I'm trying to memorize them,
yeah.
But I'm just not that. I'm not that talented. But right
you
now,
know what's better? That's actually team number 8 in the eighth spot in our score sheet. So thank you, Thunderson, for getting that one done for us.
I was going to say, I definitely know we ran into a situation where they weren't in that spot, or like another team that had a similar name wasn't in that spot. But look at this. Speaking about what spot we're in, this is a dangerous position to be in. Doc is going to be taking a lot of damage. Very Chris falls so quickly at the hands of Gigabyte, and now Ashen Frost left to kind of fend for himself outside the zone here. There's so much damage. The lightning bolt's going to be coming out, and yes, Gigabyte finds Ashen Frost. The disruption coming out. You know, hey, that's the counter of Conduit versus Tempest. Now the last member standing, Doc. Is he going to be able to make it happen? It does look like Ashen is going to be exiled here. And unfortunately, Wind Goes Burr going to be falling a little bit short of where they'd like to. I mean, hey, every game they fell short of where they liked, but hey, I believe they had 9 exiles to their name, so already just another solid game on the leaderboard for them.
Yeah, definitely. We'll have to get a final score on them once this final team member finishes up. That's going to be, I believe, Doc having to just flee as fast as possible, get out of that action, try to pull a I forget who it was in the end there. Try to pull a hoop and try to get a second place finish, if he can. Maybe a nice little third party. But that's going to be a disruption onto Cherry Time. It's going to be a member of Team Slackers. Gigabyte already doing some work on this Ethereal Assassin skin with the Conduit build. Is trying to run the full damage variant. We do have full focus mana, full fervor, and of course full recovery for that sustain. Doing pretty well for himself here. It's going to be working overtime is that recovery. And plenty of rarity on his loot as well. Plenty of damage that he's able to output along with his legendary fire, his epic shadow step, and also the epic lightning. Now we're going to go ahead and get on to Team Palpu Promise. We have Eureka's already trying to farm up a little bit with that Toxic, trying to do all that he can on that Toxicologist class. He has the rune charge off a cooldown, looking for a quick little frost, maybe a little bit too quick on the trigger. Not going to land that one, not going to land that one either. Trying to go ahead and close up the distance, get some Toxic spray out. But man, just nothing doing so far. They'll have to rotate out, maybe get a little bit of a better angle for themselves. That's going to be a quick little freeze, and just a little bit of awkward gameplay coming out. They'll have to kind of rotate off of this engagement, I would imagine. The high ground has been taken, and Eureka's looking for a safe place to get the reset off, I would imagine.
Yeah, it just seems like so many teams are kind of grouping together at this one focal point. Now Eureka's wants to back up a little bit. He does have his teammate calculated very low as well. This is going to be that reset position they want to find themselves in. And now Eureka's using that knowledge potion. He really needs to put these shadow steps to work. Has 4 of them. It's going to use 1 to reposition, but the potential outbreaks with some of these players that are just going to be getting so low. Calculated finds 1, finds 2. Primo is going to finish that one up, and Kyrie Caitlyn going to be very low, but a couple of exiles coming in the way of Palpu. So we'll see what they're going to be able to do now. Eureka's kind of stepping on the gas. They are going to be pushing themselves forward, using the Vanishing Mist just for that added additional mobility, still riding off the back of the Knowledge Potion. And this is self-preservation, not going to be using it for outbreak damage, but trying to stay alive. Eureka's finds himself in kind of a tough situation, and now the Lightning Bolt's going to be raining down. Eureka's is just in constant scramble, trying to do anything in his power. That's Kyrie Caitlyn, another Tempest player, falling at the hands of Gigabyte, but Gigabyte is going to go down to Eureka's now. Eureka's, again, another tough situation to be in. Will he be able to find his way out of the zone? But no, unfortunately, the zone damage just takes a little bit too much. Calculated, the last member standing. Is he going to be able to continue that reign? As we are jumping over to Noace, finds Gigabyte in a nice, comfy little hole. But no, the damage gets rained down. Nemo says the third-party action is here. He's going to go ahead and re-disrupt Gigabyte. And now Noace trying to reset, but no. Cubby, the shockwave damage is going to be too much. Primo-tastic, the last man for world tier, and Nemo flying high in the sky. We see the Featherfall in action yet again. Not going to be just one player rocking at OSK. We actually have 2. The tier list is climbing. This rune is climbing the tier list now.
No, it isn't.
In this qualifier, with 7 players left alive, and this is the strong team here. Cactus Lord, just about full health. Going to be playing 2 of our console players in this one. Definitely on the lookout for that with their teammate Street Face. So we'll see what they're going to be able to do. He has the lightning bolts. He's going to have to connect with that, and this is going to be the 3v1. I don't know. Okay, you think we're going to see a clutch here?
No. Absolutely not.
A man of few words. The boulders are going to be flying all over the place. But again, the 3v1, the last member standing, he's actually shooting his teammate there. They're just getting discombobulated. You have to find the feather faller, but it looks like the last man is just about to fall. 1, 2, 3 goes down, and that's going to be Cubby and crew finding the win. Let me see. What is that? What's their team name now? I gotta.
It's gonna be Scuff Squad. Squad and Marky. It's Marky on the score sheet, but it's Cubby in game. So keep that in mind as you're looking through our scores. What a final finish! That was, I would have to say, peak Spellbreak gameplay going into that remaining minute. That you saw there from the Featherfall from Nemo. Hey, but I mean, if it gets him a higher placement, it gets him a higher placement. We'll have to see how the points shake out going into our second half. But I would have to imagine versus the early games that we've been seeing from Team CNT, they're probably going to be feeling a little bit better about that one than they had their previous games.
Look, I'm telling you, it's the rise of the Featherfall. It's
F is for Featherfall, man. Don't forget it. F is for Featherfall.
The tier list, and you see it right now. Wait for the Featherfall buff in Chapter 1. I'm telling you right now, we're going to see something crazy. I'm just kidding. But you never know. You never know. I'm telling you, listen, I'm not making a strong case for Featherfall being viable. But if there ever was a scenario where it would be used, it's situations like these where there's just a lot of chaos going on, and you can find some good use out of it. Listen. I mean, the players are putting the canvas together. I'm just looking at it. You know what I mean? I'm just reading it, analyzing it. I'm just an art major. That's all it is. That's all.
You know what? Spellbreak is a thing of art. Okay, there's not an exact science to it. And sometimes Featherfall, if you want to use it to get a little bit of high ground, could work out for you. Then again, there are options that could do the same thing that are a little bit better, maybe a little bit more versatile. But you're seeing Featherfall come out in that situation. Maybe if he had his remaining teammates up, that would have been a little bit more useful. You saw how long he lasted. There was a little bit of difficulty trying to land some of these lightning bolts against Nemo there, but I mean, it's not completely useless. There is a reason that we put it in F tier though. But we'll have to see how these players can make it work. I'm not saying that, it's going to auto lose you the game every single time, but I'm just saying that there's better stuff for it. But that's a nice meme coming out from Nemo.
I mean, to be fair, it's similar to Flight, right? Like if you're trying to stay alive, Flight is not the best rune for like mid-fight movement. obviously,
Darkbreakers would disagree with you.
well, Darkbreakers, cool.
Darkbreaker's cracked. Okay, we'll just say that.
I was going to say something much more aggressive. Yeah, Darkbreaker's cracked. But seriously, I mean, truthfully, I mean, I think the common meta is that you want a very quick, movement rune, something that you can use in that mid fight to reposition, find a shot, and things like flight. They have that wind up. It's a very linear kind of mobility. It's easily sniped out of the sky. Same thing for Featherfall, but the irony is that the later you get into the game, the more viability that these runes get. I'm not saying it's much more, but we saw it. I mean, Nemo maybe not would have gotten second place without it. So I don't want to hate on it too hard.
No,
because that's not what I'm here to do. It's interesting to see if a team really will be able to find a situation where it's like, okay, listen, the plan is to carry this Featherfall late into the game and then find a situation where it just earns us a little bit more points. But the hard part about that is that they have to win fights with it. That's the hardest thing about it. So it's interesting.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
I would have to imagine something happened to them in the early game to kind of trigger that sort of decision making. You have to think, oh, maybe Dworky's down, maybe Nigel got down early, and I did see Nigel go down pretty early. So it was just Dworky and Emo for a while, and then Dworky goes down. Maybe it's just like, you know what? I'm probably not going to get any more exiles. I'm probably not going to, pull a 1v3 in this type of environment. So I'm just going to pick up this Featherfall. I'm going to hang out in the sky while these teams duke it out. I'm going to get a little bit of higher placement. But you do have to think about like maybe the potential of getting more damage, maybe the potential of getting those exiles could potentially outweigh that. Obviously, not this time around. But I'm just trying to break down some of that decision making. Now, keep in mind though,
it might have been their strategy. You never know.
It might have been. I mean, maybe we do see in the score sheet. We do see in the score sheet that Nigel actually went out with no damage and no exile. So that's unfortunately a very, very early pickup there from an enemy team. But Nigel actually sealing out with 1 exile. So not a complete loss there. And also the second place finish going to help him out quite a bit. But let's talk about Scuff Squad bringing it out for the first place finish. We saw 2 exiles coming out from Cubby there in that final little bit, and Streetface getting 1 as well. Nice first place finish as well. Definitely going to get their going to inflate their score just a little bit going into game 4 here. And look at that, we're already in. Nigel already has a nice little bit of exile, and yeah, CNT feeling already much better than they did that last game.
Yeah, listen, I would never normally say something like this on the broadcast, but OSK, your mom got slapped.
Oh gosh. Oh no, man, that is disrespectful.
Your mom just got
How is she in
dominated.
Here? Why? How is she in here? She doesn't play video games. Who told her about Spellbreak? Who told her about this? Why is she in here? Get her out. I don't want her in here. I don't need any more judgment cast on me.
No, but unfortunately, it does seem like that was a pretty early one. I don't actually see the third from Hermias Mora in their squad, but probably a little bit higher up on the kill feed. I do think that's going to be a full exile. So your mom getting dominated in this game, I can't help. I can't help myself. But hey, listen, we're on board.
I'm gonna need our production guy to stop agreeing with you and laughing in the background too. It's breaking my concentration.
Oh man, we're on board with Nemo here. It's gonna be the early game. They get to just chill and look at that, the legendary dash, man. That's so nice.
And you're looking at a 3.5 second cooldown at base and no runic fluency to empower it, so it will be that 3.5 second cooldown. So definitely a big pickup coming in from Nemo. And look at the movement coming out from Stone Shaper. This is one of the things that kind of evolved out of Stone Shaper here. The bedrock into dash momentum carry. It's so clean. You can cover a lot of distance with it too. That's kind of what's elevating it currently in the meta here. And you're seeing Primatastic elevating himself on the Stone Shaper as well, rocking the Spring Step instead. The Frost kind of come out and look at the clean little snipe coming out from Primo-tastic onto Chickadee Cat. That is going to be a nice pickup here for team, looks like World Tier. And that's going to be another follow-up onto Joshua. Going to go ahead and get them some nice exiles. Nice early start for Team World Tier. And honestly, through the beginning of these qualifiers here, they're doing very, very well for themselves, especially Game 2 and Game 3. Game 1, not so much, but man, they are surely making a case for themselves going forward.
Oh, goodness gracious, man. What an interesting fight that we just saw go down. You know what? I have to say it. Gigabyte is insane.
Man,
I just
he sure is.
And that's, I mean, I'm not being silly either. I mean, he's just actually insane. Just one of the
He's good. He's
most
really good.
consistent controller players that I see, and it's always fun to just see that kind of dominance and the actual like interplay between some of these Tempest players. I think he actually disrupted and found kills onto 2 of the Tempest players in that last game. It's going to be really interesting to see how do you play around that. I mean, I know there's obviously like balanced discussions in the air surrounding these kinds of classes, but it's going to be interesting to see what kind of adjustments these players can make. Saying that, we are going to be jumping into a fight now. Doc getting very aggressive, using that Shadow Step to just close the gap. So it does look like Chris is going to be taking a bit of damage himself. So Doc kind of walking it back now. He's going to have to his team, potentially using this firewall to just get a small reset going. You see the lightning bolts coming his way, and this is not the best position to be fighting against a conduit out in the open. But Chris is going to be on that conduit class himself. We will see what they do. How do they choose to take this engagement? If it's something that they look to just brute force that hill, they might just go ahead and back this one up, and it looks like that's what they're going to go ahead and do.
Yeah, definitely not a good place to be taking on the conduit user here. Very crisp while he is rocking the conduit himself. He's not going to be able to put out as much damage as he is rocking still the foresight talent on his body talent. So there will be no fervor to be had here. So long range engagements, not really in the strong suit of Team Wingo's Bird. They're looking for that more scrappy engagement like you mentioned earlier. They're looking for that more advantaged engagement, kind of like how they're rotating out to now. It looks like Ashen Frost going to have a little bit of an easier time trying to land some frost if they can hold this mountain. And look at this ground that they can control here. They have full vision of literally from Halcyon all the way past Lowland Outpost. They have they have all the vision from Ruby Grove all the way past Gritfeld. And look at this. Utilizing that vision, they're going to collapse on this lone player. It looks like this might be an easy pickup for Ashen Frost. We'll have to see how this plays out. But, man, it might be a big source of damage coming out for Team Wingo's Burr. Let's see how it plays out. But, man, looking good so far.
Yeah, look at the kill feed. Your boy Ross is going to find a disruption onto No Ace, and Captain Happy finding his own onto Kalibis. So lots of fights going around, going down around the map, and very crisp finding that knock. Captain Happy finding one onto Gadlick himself, and look at that. That's going to be a full team finish. Your boy Ross going to be dying at the hands of Gigabyte. So now some of these teams look like they might be kind of converging into each other. Chris, we're going to find a couple himself. Hoof getting a disruption onto Primo-tastic. So a lot of scraps going on as we are going to be swapping over to Captain Happy, taking a little bit of damage while he's flying through the sky. Rocking this 2-2-2 build on the Toxicologist, doesn't have control of the Shadow Step just yet, but the build is looking pretty nice. The scrolls are looking pretty nice in terms of that runic fluency. Captain Happy trying to see if he can find an angle, but he looks like he is in full pursuit now. 2 exiles to his name. Hoof going to be finding another disruption, a redisruption onto No Ace. Looks like that's going to be a convoluted fight. Just trying to see if he can chase up this one player. It looks like he's in constant pursuit. The Shadow Step is going to kind of keep him out of the eyes of that enemy player, but who finds one, finds 2. Looks like that third player might just get to escape for a little bit. That's going to be Tacos, I believe. Tacos on this team. That last player is going to be who's the
Gigabyte.
Gigabyte, thank you.
Yeah, this actually might be Gigabyte right here. No, it's not. It's not the Ethereal Assassin skin, so he might have just completely rotated off, but we're looking at Palpu Promise right now, trying to get a little bit of an engagement going on to Team Prospect here, trying to just take advantage of the chaos that was erupted earlier. They did get a chance to full reset, so this will be a complete 3v3 engagement. We'll have to see how they handle the power of the Toxicologist. A little bit of a different one, too. We're seeing a lot of Fortitude being picked up in comparison to something like Fervor or something like Scavenging, so we'll have to see how that works out for Captain Happy there. But in the meantime, we're looking at Kyrie Caitlyn here, still on the Tempest, opting to run the Lightning of all things here. Usually see a Frost picked up, but we have seen some good results out of the Tempest Lightning usage. So with that Squall buff, definitely buffing up the damage by that 20%. So we'll have to see how that works out for them going forward. Worked out pretty well for them in Game 1. Hopefully Game 4 will be a nice little follow-up to that. And now just opting to rotate out, just looking for the best positioning that they can sort of find here. She does have the fire in the inventory for those more close range engagements, but so far looking to just rotate around, trying to find a safe way out to the next zone. But you would have to imagine here, with the way these games are going, it's heavily weighted for all of these early engagements, and you would have to think they're looking for some early action. Just gonna barely miss that frost, just looking for a little bit of wind. And there it is. That will be the quick little disruption onto Procol there. And Doc picking up a nice disruption onto looks like Re-Zyken there. looking for our last target, and that is going to be a nice exile onto Cherry Time. So that will clean up the squad there. That's actually a third-party engagement from Team CNT. So now it'll be the 2 EU teams looking for some similar action here in the late game.
Yeah, Cap'n Happy is going to follow up with a disruption of his own somewhere else on the map onto Cactus Lord. So another qualifying team versus qualifying team in Ashen Frost. Just such quick movement. When you watch the Tempest play coming out from Ashen Frost, always so impressive and just so fluid. It's players like this, and this is the crazy thing about the class. It's players like this doing the things that they do that make you want to jump in the game and play Tempest, right? Like it's
Agreed.
it's so like infectious to watch a player moving around the map like this. But speaking of somewhere around the map, we're swapping over to Street Face. He's going to be trying to pick up whatever he can. Looks like Cactus Lord is going to squeal his way over to this tree, and he might be blending in with that skin a little bit. Is he going to find it? Yes, he does. He gets that pickup, but unfortunately his teammate falls in the process, and Street Face loses all of his health to do so. Maybe not worth it, but we'll see how they can turn this one around. Unfortunately, Cubby is going to be disrupted, and I think that if it, yeah, I was going to say, I think just based on the positioning, Taco is going to go ahead and find that full exile. So now we do have a Team Prospect looking to finish this fight here in Gritfeld. Cactus Lord maybe has some shields in the inventory. It might not look so good for him, but we are going to be still on board with Street Face, trying to pick up some points, some kills, some exiles, disruptions, whatever he can do. Unfortunately, it looks like they're kind of just in a tough position this game.
Yeah, and that was the danger coming in here. I was about to say it before it started rotating out, but they have to actually re-engage due to the zone positioning here. This is zone number 3, so that's going to be a hard rotation coming in to this later part of the game. You can see Cactus Lord getting ticked down quite a bit, and it's only going to get worse from here as he will have to make a complete rotation out. Street Face, you can see trying to make it as least conspicuous as you can, but there is a lot of flat ground out here. There's nowhere really for him to hide, so he will go ahead and set up a nice little barrier. Got to watch out for any fire, though. They will still hit him, and look at that. That's going to be some Dragon Fire damage coming out. Just standing a little bit too close to a potential ignitable source, and that is going to have to be hurting them pretty bad there. They have to drink up a lot of shields, a lot of potions to sort of recover this, and there's really just not much in the way of resources. So we'll have to put a rain check on how they're doing here going into the late game, but I would imagine they're going to be looking to stall out as long as possible. In the meantime, we do see CNT converging on their position, and this might just get ugly for Team Scuff Squad.
Yeah, they were in a pretty tough position to begin with. They already had a little bit of lobby focus going down, but now Nemo and the rest of his team looking to completely engage. But this might not be the only team in this situation. You do see Doc getting a disruption onto Eureka's, so now it's going to be full force. That's going to be Tacos coming in, finding the disruption of his own onto Dworky. So now just titans of teams here. Some of the last full healthy teams remaining are going to be getting into this full engagement. Nemo is in full disengage, trying to get away, but Dworky unfortunately not going to be able to stay alive most likely, and Nigel not really sure what his positioning looks like. He probably just found himself a comfortable spot to sit in. Doc finding the disruption onto Kyrie Caitlyn of Palpu and Calcufated, so now lots of action going on in the hands of Doc as they're just, again, really dominating this qualifier today.
Yeah, and you can see in the kill feed there, Taco is going to be taken out by one of our random squads here in the lobby. That's Montez World going to get the disruption there. And actually, it's going to be Montez World getting the final exile onto what looks like Cactus Lord. So that'll be Scuff Squad all the way out of this competition. That's going to be Ashen Frost stunned up. But thankfully, not much to follow up on. The Frost will miss him by just a hair. And still looking to get this thirst out, trying to get those 15 points, but might have to focus a little bit more on the damage side of things. He is getting damage just a little bit, that corrosion ticking down the armor, but it's not going to be by very much. He does have that epic up. He does have a lot of aim, and that's going to be a lot of damage. That's Eureka is going to be exiled completely out. That's going to be Wind Goes Burr picking up a nice little bit of exiles there. Tacos looks like he might have been picked up as well. He's going to get the full exile onto Astral Chaos. So we're looking at Wind Goes Burr. We're looking at a little bit of Team Prospect, and I believe CNT might still be up with one remaining member. That's going to be Nigel going completely out. So we're looking at Nemo and potentially Dworky. We'll have to get a rain check on that and see what exactly is going on. But it looks like Wind Goes Burr have put themselves in a dominant position. They have full vision of this next zone, but unfortunately have to give it up and rotate back in to the final part of this zone. This is going to get wild. It's going to get crazy. You're about to see a lot of spells flying and a lot of damage getting on this scoreboard, Crashy.
Yeah, and just looking at, kind of the time and the positioning that they had, they don't have any shields in their inventory. Ashen Frost is looking to push the top of this kind of castle fortifying position. Now going to be just sorcery canceling, holding himself in the tree. And this is all about Ashen just keeping himself as healthy as possible. Again, they don't have any shields in the inventory, and if they're not looking for a full engagement, it's all about just staying alive a little bit further. Eldegold is going to find that disruption on, or actually what I believe is the full exile. Yes, that finishing exile onto Gigabyte, so they're going to be down that full team now, and now Ashen Frost, this is going to be the full teams coming together. That's Tacos presumably in the sky, using that Spell Slinger, trying to find some damage of his own, and Ashen is just doing everything in his power to stay alive. Has a lot of damage here out on the outside, and the wind spam is going to be coming out from Ashen. Is he going to connect with it? It doesn't look like that full disruption going to go in the hands of Ashen. Doc's going to be finding a lot himself, and the game just coming to an end so very quickly.
Man, I would have to get a final reading there on who exactly finished last. Yeah. I do believe that that's Team 8 picking up the first place finish. But in that kill feed as well, you saw Tacos get one of those final exiles. So I do believe, if I'm remembering correctly, that will be a victory going on to team number 8 here. But again, we'll have to see how Team Prospect finished up there, as the information is not complete from the kill feed alone. So we'll be getting those scores out to you here very quick. You can always check them by typing in !scores if you are new to the stream here. But Crashy, that's going to conclude our first half of all the games here on NA East. And what a first half it was coming out from Win Goes Burr. You have to imagine they're sitting pretty nicely there on the first place side of things.
Yeah, so Team 8, that's really like the best position that we've seen them in throughout the course of this one. I actually didn't recognize that they were in it for a while. Monty's World actually found himself a couple of exiles, and then Lil Oxio, I'm not sure if I'm saying that, Lil Oxio. Yeah, Lil Oxio. I believe he found that final kill because he got that ice lance, and then it kind of disrupted with the rest of the lobby. That Tacos actually had a couple of disruptions for himself, so he gets that final finish. Teammate is going to find themselves the winners of that last game number 4 on the NA East server, and I believe we had 4 separate winners. So 4 separate winners. We have the scores; they're all ticking in. Lots of damage, lots of exiles from all these players. But that last game was really looking good for Team Prospect, probably climbing themselves up a pretty decent amount. And then again, Win Goes Burr have been consistent throughout the course of this game, and that's their off region. A full EU team has been, again, just for the lack of anything else to say, they've been dominating the qualifier, doing very, very well, whether it be in the exile, the damage category, but also in their placements as well.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if we can get those final scores for game 4 up here pretty quickly. It doesn't look like we've calculated anything so far for game number 4 for Win Goes Burr. So if you are looking at those final bit of points here, it is still being updated. So keep in mind there, it does look like they will get a little bit more separation between them and World Tier, who is currently sitting in second place. But we have to keep in mind here, Team Win Goes Burr is a fully EU team, and they're only going to get stronger going into the second half. And you have to imagine, while the lead is pretty big right now, they only have the opportunity to make it even bigger now that they have all their mechanics down. They have the ping that they don't need to worry about. They can really do some damage. But we have to really commend here Team World Tier for putting up a nice little fight here in the first half of this event here. They're over 1,000 points already. And again, any bad games that they've had do have the opportunity to be dropped, as we are only taking the best 6 out of 8 games. And of course, all the teams here for the first place finish, if they do finish there, will receive those $30, the $10 per person, courtesy of our sponsorship by Proletariat. Also feeding into this finals prize pool of $1,500. So stay tuned for that here 2 weeks from now. But that is going to do it for our first half. So we will have a nice little bit of video for you to enjoy, guys. We will be back here probably in about 10 minutes, I do believe is the length. Crashy, some final points for you. What do we have to know before we go into this halftime break?
I mean, I think the story thus far is just Win Goes Burr. I mean, they're clapping up on they're clapping up, they're win spamming, they're doing all the things, they're landing the shots, they're playing coordinated, and it's only going to get better. Like you said, they're going to be moving to their native server, and if that doesn't just scream talented, strong players, dominant, I mean, I don't know what does. So we'll see how they can take that lead and run with it. They only need a couple more solid games, but they might actually be able to knock some of their good games out. So we'll see. They're very, very aggressive team is what it seems like. I'm liking what I see. It's very different a little bit in terms of the Chris build, that conduit build. I like that he's got that full on supporty kind of conduit style of play. And using that foresight to just take fight after fight after fight. It doesn't really even seem like that first place finish is the focus. I mean, it's always a nice cherry on top, but it's all about those points.
Yeah, and keep that foresight in mind. You heard it here first from myself, OSK. This is going to be the future of Spellbreak squads. So keep it in mind, clip it, go ahead and put it on the record books. Foresight is the future. But now we'll go ahead and get into our halftime break. Won't hold you up any longer. We'll see you back here in 10 minutes. So stay tuned. We'll be right back at you for the second half on the EU servers.
Player. Hello and welcome back. And looking at that stat sheet, man, Doc with the big damage. But we're back from the halftime. It's going to be me, Crashy, my boy OSK, and man, what a pretty crazy start to the event. We have Win Goes Burr dominating. I mean, dominating. If you guys saw the stat sheets, 39 exiles. Oh my goodness,
it's a lot. It's definitely a lot, and it's a lot more than second place. I can tell you that right now. So far, from what I can see on the standings, you can look at it right with me here by typing in exclamation scores here in the chat. But we're looking at a total of 1,872 points for Team Win Goes Burr so far. Looking at 1,269 for World Tier. In third place, we have Team Prospect with 1,013. Fourth, we're looking at CNT at 865, and fifth, just barely behind CNT, we have Team Palpu Promise with 854 points. So it gives you an idea of kind of the spread between all of our teams here. So far, we're looking at between first and fourth place, a difference of over 1,000 points. So definitely a lot of ground to be covered here by Team CNT. But interesting to note here, they will be going on their home servers. And we saw in Qualifier 5 that it did work out very, very well for them. So definitely an adjustment to be made. It will be a rather big one coming out by the way of them. And of course, Win Goes Burr also on their home server, just looking to continue more of the same. And honestly, they're looking pretty good even on their off server. The home server should only be better.
Yeah. Now, OSK, we talked about a little bit in the halftime, but remind me, do you know the current points that they need to break to hit that finals qualifier? What are they competing against?
Here, let me pull it up for sure for you guys here. So we have a little sheet going around as far as how many points all these players need. I don't have it right in front of me very quickly, so it might take me a little bit to scroll through. But I do believe in the chat we said it was 2,492. I don't know if that's correct. That's why
around that range. Yeah. So, but around that range. So even just for the sake of the talking point, it's going to be that last final qualifier for the Element Fusion. So we're going to be getting ready and prepared to jump into the finals. Only 10 teams are going to be able to qualify, and it's going to be the top 10 teams from every qualifier. So there's that current team, whatever team it is, whatever point it is, sitting in that 10th place slot. They're kind of, like holding on to their teddy bear, like watching this qualifier, just, holding on. They hold on for dear life as they want to keep that position. But you never know. Win Goes Burr is definitely flying through this one, farming up the lobbies, jumping over to their native server. We're getting to get ready to go into game number 5 as we're searching for a game. And so sure to be some pretty crazy action as we have our EU teams, our EU players going over to their side and already just dominating from the get-go. That's they've at very least been building a strong trajectory, collecting some points, racking up some games that they can sit on, solid or push out if they need to. And it is what it is, man. They're playing the format to perfection so far.
Yeah, so far. And to answer your question here from earlier, I do have it pulled up right in front of me. Now, the one that I have doesn't include Dark Horse, so we'll slot them in. I think they were just a little bit over 3,000 points from yesterday. But if you cascade it down from there, it looks like Team SDK is sitting in that ranked 10 position there with 2,492 points. So we were correct. So that's what Win Goes Burr needs to beat to be able to qualify. Just above SDK is going to be kind of weird with 2,549 points. So if you're team world tier, if your team CNT's already qualified from what I'm seeing here though. So if you're team world tier and you're trying to just make it a cut above that slot that you were last time, they were only off by 2 points, I believe in qualifier number 5. they will basically have to double their score to be able to get in, and I believe and then some, because it's, yeah, if they continue on the same path right now, if they play out, if they were counted for all 8 games on an average, 8 games would give them about 2,500 points, and believe it's 38. So that's still about 11 points short. So definitely need a big improvement coming in from on the EU side of things. It's going to be difficult, but it's still, the possibility is still there. So I won't count them out yet. Win goes Burr, though, on a great pace. At this pace, with 6 games counted, they're looking at about 2,700 points to take home with.
Yeah, and if they do get that 2,700 mark, then they're going to be finding themselves in that final qualifier, or in the finals through the qualifiers. This is going to be the last one before we jump into the finals. Again, shout out to Proletariat, sponsor of this event, putting together the prize pool for every single qualifier, as well as that $1,500 max for the finals. And again, for anybody that wants to consider supporting, get your name up in lights, as we do appreciate the support. 70% of those donations are going to be going straight into production, straight into art, straight into everything that runs the entire Element broadcast. But now game number 5 is just about time to get underway. We're going to be jumping into it very momentarily.
Absolutely, and it'll be quite a drop that it will be. So we're looking at the EU side of things again. 4 games on EU for our second half. Win goes Burr and CNT going to be feeling pretty good about it. I do remember that World Tier did still do decently with the first team that they brought in qualifier number 5. So let's see if they can pull it up from there. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment here from Team Papu Promise and Team Prospect to try to improve their score, though, on their off servers. So we'll see how that works out for them. Of course, still a lot of teams here towards the bottom side of things. We have in 6th place Scuff Squad with 710 points, looking to improve that. Hopefully break top 5, top 4. We'll have to see how that works out for them. But as I say that, we're looking at Team Palpu Promise getting some quick exiles there off the drop. So excellent stuff there. Also Cherry Time joining in there, Team Slackers. So great pickup from them as well.
Yeah, we're going to be watching Team Prospect at the moment. They're going to be looting up, and it doesn't look like Cap and Happy's down this one. It looks like they might have like a nice solid, clean game, a good start, nice base under their feet that they can work with. Cap and Happy going to swap out that common. He's going to get that epic dash. So they're in that looting phase. 34 players left alive. Had a little bit of that early action, but it's all about just finding the gauntlets, finding everything that they want. He's already got a lot of epics working for him. So we'll see if Cap and Happy can find whatever else he's looking for. And he's going to be on the Tempest. I don't think that we've seen him on the Tempest earlier. Maybe my brain just is not working.
In fact,
look at this.
Ooh. Hello, look at Eldegold getting some damage going on pretty early on the Epic Games server here, along with his teammates on the sticks. We'll have to see how this works out for him, but it looks like it's working out pretty well so far. Just a little bit of a stun there from the electrified tornado there, but still following up with this squad very, very well. The enemy doing a great job of kiting, but that will be Fugoleon going to go ahead, or Fuegoleon going to go ahead and get out of this lobby. That'll be some free exiles out for Eldegold's team. That's Team 8 taking some early action.
Yeah, Team 8 taking some early action. They're going to get themselves control of a very dense loot position. But, here we are moving over to Nemo. His perspective here, him and his team going to be at the Cathedral. It looks like an early fight might be breaking just any second. You see that Shadow Step jumping out. It does look like they do have that level 2 skill. So he does have the Vanishing Mist. Use that to go ahead and reposition. Now Nemo wants to get control of the high ground. The lightning bolts coming out from that potential conduit, or at least lightning gauntlet. We'll see what he decides to do. Again, Nemo just wants to get control of the high ground. If he can control this positioning, the lightning strike going to kind of shove him off of that there. He's going to use that Vanishing Mist yet again. And it's just a little uncommittal. They're keeping their health high. They all reset, but they haven't wanted to fully engage on this fight just yet.
Yeah, and you know why that is because it's still the first zone. There's no outbreak on Nemo quite yet, so he's opting to play a little bit more defensively while he doesn't have his burst damage that he desperately needs. He's opting to use more of the frost that he can, but as I say that, it looks like he will go ahead and commit on this low opponent. That's going to be Dworky with the full pickup onto Gigabyte. That's a big pickup too. That's part of Team World Tier, one of the teams that are currently above them in the standings. So great job getting a quick pick off there. Nemo's going to spot out one of the remaining teammates here, trying to get a little bit of frost going on. Still no outbreak in the kit just yet. That first zone is still closing. So we will just see a little bit of long-range Toxic Slap come out, trying to line up the Frost, I would imagine, here pretty shortly. Lots of lightning damage coming out, though. Nemo and his team of CNT looking to take advantage of this high ground position. Looking for the snipe. Not going to hit that one, but looking for number 2, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's going to be No Ace, I believe, the last one standing. But looking at the kill feed, we have a big engagement going down on the other side of the map. We're going to be jumping in with that fight immediately on board with Hoof. And this is going to be Hoof, Tacos, and Captain Happy. Hoof going to be the last member standing. That fire tornado is just keeping Hoof. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to step away from this one. The recovery doing as much work as possible, but very crisp is going to find that last one. Actually, I believe Action Frost finding the last Iceland shot that he needs, and he's going to be able to pick up his 2 teammates. So, man, win goes Burr. They find themselves in probably the tightest fight that they've had the entire event, but still going to walk away with it. Action Frost really cleans that up. And look at the kill feed. Dome carry, finding 1, finds 2, finds 3. Primo Tastic going to self-exile. I think that's probably just a timeout, as they were actually, they were chasing out No Ace earlier, who's going to be the last one standing. So Gigabyte will probably time out here just as well. Pretty shortly, pretty soon. Yeah, there it is. And man, unfortunately for World Tier, they're not going to have a pretty solid game number 5. We'll see if they can pick that up and kind of continue their run. But, you know, win goes Burr right now. The story has been all about them. They find themselves on their home server. Ashen Frost has a pretty unfortunate common dash rune, but hey, regardless, they're able to pick up their fights and continue to put those points on the board.
Yeah, and just like you're saying in the kill feed, your mom's doing pretty well out here in the HoloLens, man. Just finding all those exiles, so great job to your mom. Looks like we have a little bit of knowledge potion going around here, probably looking to funnel that into very crisp with all those stuns that he's able to put out with the Lightning Strike sorcery. It's usually what happens on Team Win Goes Burr from their past performance, but we'll have to see if there's going to be any change to that, as I would believe Doc would like all of those extra boulders as well. We're going to be looking at Hermaeus Mora real quick, though. He is going to be a member of Team Your Mom, currently in 10th place, but looking to change that fact. He actually didn't do too badly yesterday on a different team with Dapper Fellows, so we'll have to see if it will be him picking up a little bit of the slack here from the last place finish. Let's see if he can pull it out here. He is rocking the Frostborn. Not exactly what he was rocking yesterday, but, you know, sometimes if it fits in your team composition a little bit better, you know, why not do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, why not? Exactly. We don't see a ton of Frostborn come out, just the same that we don't see a ton of Tempest, but hey, whenever the player is feeling confident, they want to rock what they want to rock. It's going to see what they can do with it. Hermaeus Mora going to be swapping over to it, like you said, and look at the build. He's got that 3-1-2 build, you know, a pretty standard build, especially on the Frostborn running the Harmony, but he has the Finders Keepers and the Thirsty, so very supporty in nature. Going to hopefully find some scrolls for him and his team. He does have that full Thirsty, so probably funneled those Spirit Scrolls into his pockets, into his build, so that way they can get that full benefit. And you know what I'd love to see is whenever a Thirsty player is capable of finding a lot of those big potions, because they do have that increased speed, but they do see this enemy team on that high ground. We'll see how they decide to take this engagement. If they decide to take this engagement, the flight rune going to be in the hands of Hermaeus Mora, and you know, that's actually not terrible in the Frostborn. You can use that to get some high ground positioning, and then use Icicle to kind of hover and look for potential shots. So a little bit of Frostborn action happening back to back, but Hermaeus Mora, they're going to go ahead and reposition. They want to take control of this high ground. You see the mark coming out from him, and as it looks like EU King of NA is going to take a little bit of damage from himself, but not too bad. Not very committal yet. They're waiting for that full zone to close, see what they got to do, and for now it's just a little battle of the pokes.
Yeah, a little battle of the pokes indeed. It is the mid-game, nothing too committal coming out here, but I believe Hermaeus Mora, if he finds a big poke, will look to change his mind on that. This, I would have to imagine, is going to be Team Win Goes Burr, given their positioning. It might be wrong, but we'll have to see how everything shakes out. They were hanging around the Sawtooth Mountain area in the towers just north of it. Now, interesting to note here that Hermaeus Mora will have to rotate off of this particular area, as the zone is going to be looking like going to be on the northeastern side of things. If we can get a quick peek at the map while there's a little lull in the action, get to see where that zone is. Actually, no, it's straight north. So just off of our screen here, we'll be just to the north of Sawtooth Mountain. So Sawtooth Mountain's still in play, just on the northern end of it. So that giant mountain that you're seeing right there, probably something to be fighting over. We already see squads getting down to it. Team Your Mom going to have to rotate off. Looks like going the eastern route, trying to duck behind this little bit of cliff cover and also a bit of the towers. So trying to play a little bit passively, trying to rotate as safely as possible. But you have to imagine that you want to get as much damage as possible. You want to get as many exiles as possible. At least don't go home without getting a decent amount of points. Currently in 10th place, hopefully looking to improve that at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting situation to be in, right? Because you have to have a fair amount of confidence to be able to go into these fights and know that you need to get the damage and know that you need to get the exiles, but at the same time, you know, choosing to fight someone where you run the risk of getting taken out early. Speaking of a fight, this looks like this engagement is going to be going down. That has to be Ashen Frost. You can see the mobility, that Tempest flying straight to the sky as Hermes Moore going to take a lot of damage, and oh my goodness, Dome Carry gets dominated by Doc. Hermes Moore just trying to disengage. At this point, they don't have that many exiles, they don't have that many points potentially, but it does look like Hermes Moore is pulling a Solar Bear Classic, trying to get away, trying to skate away. But look at this, the zone is pushing OSK. This is just a not so great position to be in. Doc finding that first disruption so very fast. Ashen Frost going to find the second. Look at that shot just connecting as we swap over. Ashen Frost, the king of Tempest Frost, is putting it to work here as they're going to just continue their run. They're going to get themselves back inside the zone and find themselves a couple more exiles just to add to the top, right?
Man, I'll tell you what, you probably won't see this amount of Tempest gameplay since probably the solo finals that we had very, very early on. This is about a month ago where Yovipu was popping off. I would imagine Ashen Frost looking for something similar. He is just not missing today on that Frost. And while it is not one right after another, it's not that that chain Frost that we saw from the solo part of things. Definitely be looking to see his consistency out here. He is constantly landing all of these snipes. And as I say that here, a nice snipe coming out here from Nemo off of Team CNT, going to go ahead and take out, looks like that's Team Boomers and Sun. And CNT also going to clean up a little bit of Scuff Squad. So on their home server, Team CNT definitely doing a lot better. We'll see if their standings change in any meaningful way. For the moment, it looks like Team Papu Promise looking to hold off this mountain. They always get a head start whenever it comes to these positional fights. And, you know, they had that going on for them in game number 1, taking it for a victory. And this is exactly what they need to do going into this game as well. And, man, just a great job from them doing that. I'm going to go ahead and take the higher part of this mountain, taking the route all the way down to this flatter part of the map. So Calculated will definitely have an easier time landing his stone. Kyrie Caitlin's going to have a better time catching people out of cover with that lightning. And Eureka's going to be doing pretty good with all these extra surfaces with that Pyromancer class and Combust.
Yeah, Kyrie, you see that just barely dodging that Ice Lance, and now it looks like Calculated finding himself in an engagement. Kyrie is going to be able to follow that up, getting herself very high up in the sky, not going to connect with very many shots there. So a little bit of damage coming in the way of Papu Promise. But Kyrie trying to get herself out of this situation again, just kind of getting locked down. It does look like Calculated and his teammate are going to take quite a bit of damage now. It looks like Kyrie wants to sit back. She does have that Thirsty, so if that Thirsty can connect, give a little bit of healing to her teammates, there's so much damage, just a very scrappy engagement going on here. Will she be able to clean this up? The Squall Lightning Bolts getting a bit of damage out. They're trying to help out Eureka's the best they can, and yes, Eureka's finds the disruption onto Nemo, and that was Nigel that got disrupted as well. So one more player left alive of that full team, and again, Kyrie putting up the heals that she can for her team, using that final bit of shield, that large shield shard. She didn't actually even need it for herself, but once they get that healing out to her team the best she can, now using up the majority of her movement economy and trying to back up here. They're playing on the edge of the zone, and she's going to be the most healthy one of her team. She has to see if they can find some disruption, some kind of a situation where they can get a little bit more dominant, because her teammates are very, very low. She may end up just having to be the last one standing, kind of similar to what we see in certain situations where they just have to stay alive, get some placements, but they're not down just yet. And Doc is in the kill feed, finding 1, finding 2, finding 3 is Ashen Frost on Elder Gold. So he's going to fall down. So now it's 12 players remaining, and their health, you know, their health and shield values are actually somewhat low. But the thing is the trade-off is that they're not just trying to win the game. We're in that end game territory. You do see a little bit of damage coming out towards the way of Doc. So he's going to miss this.
Big damage.
Oh, look at that. Calculated. Hermes Moore going to get disrupted as well. Dwerky finds the knock onto Chris, but now Ashen Frost, the last player standing. This might be a 3rd, 4th, or 5th place finish, depending on how many players are left alive. Ashen Frost trying to stay alive the best he can. That tree, that sorcery cancel, we've seen him do so very well. And a lot of these players, the potential to get Doc up was there, but not going to be able to find it. The fireballs, the spam coming out towards the way of Ashen Frost. That's a full team up in the mountain potentially. So now Ashen Frost is just buying time. Do whatever he can. The lightning bolt's going to be coming over towards his direction. That lightning strike is going to connect. That's the final finish coming out from Dwerky. unfortunately not going to be able to stay alive as Ashen Frost and the rest of his team, but Dworky, full health and a dream, finds the disruption, finds the full exile onto the end of Noise. Kyrie Caitlyn is going to get self-disrupted, maybe accidentally stepping into the zone or finding, you know, a lightning strike on top of her head. That's Nemo getting knocked down to Calculated, or vice versa, rather. Calculated going to be falling into the hands of Nemo. Now 6 players left alive in total, but you have to see that's the final finish. Kyrie Caitlyn not going to be able to stick in there, and oh my goodness, those fights, it dropped down from 10 players to 0 in an instance. So much action at the very end there.
Man, don't count CNT out. That's all I gotta say about that, man. This is looking like a repeat of qualifier number 5. They don't do so well on the NA servers, but whenever they're all together on the EU, on their home servers, they are a force to be reckoned with. You saw on Dworky's page that he had 6 exiles to himself, and I would imagine that love's being spread around a little bit amongst their team as well. So you have to imagine, man, that's a big game for Team CNT. Very nice improvement coming out on that first place finish. Also, a very good job to Papu Promise as well, making it into second place. While they didn't end up sealing out that last fight, they did a great job of keeping their position in a favorable place. They were doing a great job of taking over that mountain very, very early on, letting them coast in to that last little area. And Kyrie Caitlyn doing a good job. While it did get the self-exile there, it looks like on the zone, they still did a great job of lasting as long as they did, taking out that second place. That's going to be a decent amount of points going to them. And of course, Team Win Goes Burr just kind of coasting into that game as well. Didn't do as well as some of their pop-off games from the NA side of things, but still a lot of exiles, a lot of damage. You have to imagine you're still feeling very, very good if your Team Win Goes Burr.
Yeah, I mean, the crazy thing about Win Goes Burr is they find themselves to the end game every single time. But the reason why they might not be closing out some of these games is because they're usually kind of low. They don't have a lot of shields because they're just fighting after fight after fight, and they're winning these fights. So, you know, Win Goes Burr probably still holding that first place position. We're looking at the standings. I'm not sure if they've updated just yet, but holding that first place position, and they've yet to win a game. We've already played 5 games in total. I don't think they've won. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Win Goes Burr has actually won a game, and they're still holding that first place position. So, you know, it doesn't look like they're, you know, doing the best that they could, but that's part of the strategy. You know, they come in, they know that they can get a lot of these kills. They're very confident to take the fights, and they're taking them and finishing them out, you know, very, very strongly. So although they're going to fall down what I think was probably about 3rd or 4th place in that game, you know, they still get themselves some placement points, and they're getting a lot of damage and a lot of exile points.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of points, just in general, we're updating Team CNT as we speak now. Go ahead and hit exclamation scores. That's going to be a 600-point game by way of CNT. So definitely a great performance coming out from them. That's 12 exiles, over 3,300 damage, and a total score from that game of 603. So that is huge for them. And as we were saying about Team Win Goes Burr, they did get 4th place, but their total amount of points due to their damage and exiles is actually going to place them above Papu Promise for that game by about 64 points. So doing a great job of staying aggressive early on and keeping that aggression going. While it doesn't result in a first place finish for today's event so far, it is still resulting in quite a bit of points that do add up over time. And they're still holding a pretty dominant position there in first place.
Yeah, holding that dominant position. And again, we do know that they're chasing after the 10th place slot. We do have, what, 3 more games remaining. They're going to be able to kick off 2 of their not so great performances, but so far all of their performances have been pretty solid. And the story now is CNT. They didn't do the best. They didn't do terrible, but they didn't do the best that they could do on the NA side. And now really starting to clean up on the EU side. We'll see if they can continue to push themselves higher and higher. They're sitting in that 2nd place position. And again, you guys can look at the scores and world tier. You know, they're kind of clawing their way up there as well. So if there is any of these teams that are sitting in these high positions that get taken out early, if there's any kind of a strategy to drop on these teams or look to hunt them down, that could be a shift that could be really interesting. I'm not advocating for it, but I think I've brought this up in the past. It's always interesting to see what teams are willing to do or what kind of potential fights they're willing to take early or pathing that they're willing to take to try to cut off some of these teams a little bit earlier to keep them from being a high scoring tournament or a high scoring game. So we'll see how that develops. But yeah, CNT has been climbing up with that win, definitely going to help in the way of the standings. And yeah, so far this event has just been Win Goes Burr so far, though. You know, I think I'm a bit of a broken record on that one as we're getting ready for game number 6. But hey, man, the domination has been coming out. I mean, Ashen Frost kind of carrying the team, putting a lot of damage. I mean, he had a couple of games where he wasn't carrying the team. You know, Doc was popping off.
Yeah, Doc is doing great.
Doc has had a couple of really great games. It's the flashy nature of Tempest, man. It's so hard not to look at a player playing like that and be really impressed. And not to mention the fact that I believe, man, I really wish that my memory wasn't so bad, but I believe that Ashen Frost is the one that's not running Fervor. I think he's running like the 2-2-2.
That's correct.
He's prioritizing the runic over Fervor. So you know, it's interesting to see how you choose where your mobility comes from, right? Do you want Fervor for the mobility, the added speed on the wind shears, and just like faster spellcast speed for the ability to DPS faster? But the thing about Ashen Frost's build specifically is that he's not running the Spellslinger. He's not running, you know, 2 gauntlets. He is a Tempest with an offhand Frost Gauntlet. That Fervor just doesn't really make sense for him. So it's an interesting take on the Tempest class, a Tempest build. But so far, I gotta say, it's been really working out for him.
Yeah, and that's exactly correct what you're talking about there. That's his reasoning for not running Fervor, is that, am I ever going to use this if I'm charging up a Frost all the time? And the answer for that is mostly no. You can use your updraft without even using a spell to get into the air the way that he does. And he actually shared with me a bit of tech that you've seen from Tacos as well and from himself, that you can actually use that initial updraft to get the initial hop and then back up as you're charging the Frost, let it land, and then you can dive right back in for a radi hop all the way up as the tornado is dissipating. So you can get kind of a double height going on, but you're not really using your wind gauntlet all that much as far as like just shooting it at the ground for your wind surge passive. So not picking up Fervor, definitely working out if you're going to run Tempest Frost. If he was to opt for a more I would say aggressive close range approach, then maybe you would see the Fervor for fireballs or toxic or that sort of thing, which he is known to do as well. But for the moment, we'll be sticking on the Frost. It tends to be working out well for him. But I do want to mention here, just pulling up a little bit of stats for you while we're waiting to get into this next lobby. Team CNT actually had the highest score game from that last game of all the teams that we're seeing here up to this point. So definitely making a statement out here. They did finish that game again with 603 points. The next best one from what I'm seeing here is going to be, I believe, Team Win Goes Burr at 519. So if things continue like this and Team CNT can continue to pop off, we might see a bit of a contested first place, and we'll have to see how that unfolds, of course, going into the later part of this. I actually have a bit of a correction to make on the current standings of the qualifiers here. Actually, it was a team from yesterday that finished out with 2,496 points. I believe SK Shaco was on that team. I forget the full name of it, but that's actually the score they need to beat, 2,496. So we'll be on the lookout for that one. But interesting to note as well, Team CNT currently are pretty well within the qualifications for the finals already. So even if they manage to edge out and take first place from Win Goes Burr, they're pretty much already in. So it won't really affect the standings too much as compared to if Win Goes Burr gets first place.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting. I mean, there's a little bit of friction there, right? To see who can have not just a good qualifier, but a higher scoring qualifier that can actually affect the overall point totals for the finals and for the top 10 teams that are going to end in the finals. That said, I do believe we're going to be dropping into game number 6 momentarily. So 3 games left. We're going to be over on that EU side. And again, 8 games total, of which 6 will be scored. So some of these teams already, have probably used more than a couple of their kind of what would be called their throwaway games. So they're going to have to get very strong, very consistent if they want to fly up to the top of the leaderboard. We're going to be jumping in right now.
All right, let's see how this action unfolds here. We do have Team Prospect already off the drop here. Just looking for a little bit of early action. And speaking of early action, we have Team CNT already going to be taken out. That's Team Boomers and Sons, so they'll be out pretty early on. Cubby as well from Scuff Squad, going to go ahead and get a Thirst off to a member of Team World Tier. That's going to be No Ace already down. So not looking good for World Tier coming into game number 6. It's almost definitely going to be a game that they're going to want to drop if the early game is going this I would say not badly, but it's not as good as you'd want it to be. But now we have a little bit of Scuff Squad looking for another engagement, lacking a little bit of gear, including belts, so that's not going to feel too good for them. But here we go with the Safeguard Potion. Looks like we'll be getting a little bit of wasted value. That's a bit of a pre-pot going in, so we'll have to see if it works out for him. Streetface trying to make the most of a bit of a bad situation here, but his squad is still full health, so definitely don't count them out yet. We'll have to see how the shots are landing. Not going to land that one, but looking for a follow-up is Streetface.
Yeah, and I actually do think that this might be an engagement on to world tier, because early on in the kill feed, you actually see that Cubby found a disruption onto what I believe was no ace. So I'm not sure if that he was able to kind of disengage and get rezzed, but we'll have to see. Looking in the kill feed though, Dome Carry is going to find the disruption, the full finish on Team Pow Poo Promise. So unfortunately for them, they're going to be falling out pretty early here in game number 6. It does look like they're looking to chase up on that fight a little bit. Oh, no ace, I do believe, is full exiled. And this is like
he got
very... I'm going to call it, I'm going to use a specific word. It's just a very like early grief-like fight where there's not a lot of looting going on. These two teams are spending a lot of time engaging with each other. Unfortunately for world tier, it does seem like they kind of get the short end of the stick on that one. But here we are on Wingo's Burr. They're going to be moving in, looking for some additional loot, some potential fights as well. It does look like we're just cycling through the map, seeing if there's any action happening. Still going to be on board with Cubby, so it doesn't look like they're going to chase too hard. They do need to find themselves some loot. And actually, look at the build. Cubby going to be rocking a different build, using that Frostborn class, but is going to be using the support style build, very similar to Crisp on the Foresight, with that Thirsty in the pocket as well.
Yeah, and this is kind of more what you'd like to see from a Foresight build. Maybe once Frostborn gets these changes, which have been mentioned by Jesse here in a feedback post that Taco's actually made. He did mention that there are changes to Frost coming in. So Frostborn, not one of those classes that you really need to run Fervor on or really want to run Fervor on. It's just like that Tempest discussion that we had with Ashen Frost, how it doesn't really affect the charge up time of Frost, so you're not really going to be running it too much, so you can quit very easily. Just stick nice little Foresight on there, and the focus mana as well, going to get some extra damage in addition to the Ice Prism there in the late game. We'll have to see how those changes affect Frostborn in the long run, but this might also be the future of Spellbreak that I've been talking about here. You might see a bunch of Frostborn mains rocking Foresight for their squads to not only get some future, to not only get, I guess, some foresight on where your where the future zone is going to be, or mana vaults, but also trying to avoid any third parties that might be approaching you, as you can see from the mini map.
Yeah, and it's just speaking on the changes and what changes that I think that players would like to see for Frostborn. A big conversation or a talking point for the Frostborn class is that, it would be very interesting to see if they got some kind of a built-in anti-CC for their own Alacrity, so that build would actually fit perfect. If we did see a change like that, obviously this is just a bit speculative. If we saw a change like that, fitting that Foresight in and using Focus Mana would be a perfect build to where you don't have to lean on Harmony. But as we swap around the map, we're going to be looking at Very Crisp, who has already drank what looks like a knowledge potion, but look at the inventory, OSK. Look at those potions rocking paired with that Thirsty. He doesn't have a full Thirsty, but still, the fact that he's rocking so many large potions is
Here it goes.
It speaks.
Yep, and there it goes. If Ashen Frost or Doc find themselves in an engagement, that's going to be some passive armor going on, and that's actually not too bad of value on Thirsty there. It will apply the same amount of boost to your potions among your teammates, despite not having any scrolls in there. It only affects the drinking speed, so the initial value is still there from a support style. Looks like we're going to have a little bit of action in the kill feed there, as Cherry Time will get 2 disruptions, and actually it looks like a Fracture Death, or maybe some maybe that's a little bit of Zone Tick. I can't imagine that would be it, but Dealer De Kebab is going to go ahead and go down. Very Crisp finding himself on the losing end of this engagement, though. All the rest of his squad is down. Has to be very, very careful. Maybe he's trying to take advantage of this sort of chaos that's going on in the mountain above him. He might actually get the res off. If he does, that is huge, because what he can do after he gets all these reses off is he can pop those 2 safeguard potions, those 2 giant safeguard potions. His team is already back to full health and ready to re-engage on this fight. And look at this. It's exactly what's going to happen. He'll go ahead and drink this up, get some passive healing to his teammates, and they're actually fine. Like, it's as if nothing happened.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. I mean, they are going to have to get themselves out of this situation because they are still taking a little bit of storm damage, but very early on in the game, they're not that far. You can see it just by looking at the map there. They're going to be able to walk away from this one, and a bad situation with a little bit of patience, the right shot calling, and the ability to disengage can easily turn around. And this could be, a situation where 2 of the 3 players were down, and now they might be able to just kind of charge through the map and find themselves a full team wipe, more exiles, more damage, and potential potentially a win. So very, very heads up play there to just take it slow, pull themselves back, not panic, not feel the pressure of the zone, and reposition. So now you see this is still Storm fighting consistently out here in, just looking at the kill feed, it's just back-to-back engagements. I'm not even sure who they're looking to siege up on. You see that Shockwave is going to be coming down, not going to be able to connect there, as Doc kind of leading the charge yet again on that Pyromancer. Ashen Frost going to be taking some damage as well, but they are in full pursuit, finding it. 1, 2, 3. Will Gigabyte is going to go down at the hands of Crisp on the conduit, and this is presumably the rest of World Tier, or actually that was the end of World Tier there, with Primo going down, and Nemo still fighting, you know, an exile somewhere else on the map as well. But they pushed into the storm. They wanted to close this team out. They were the team that got disrupted very early on, but they completely turned it around to OSK, and man, what a profitable situation to find themselves in.
Absolutely, and you have to imagine that foresight talent is doing wonderfully for Chris right now. That's one thing I forgot to mention, actually, while he was rezzing his teammates. He's able to look on the minimap, and look at that. You can actually see from the map here that they can see where that next zone is going to be, even outside of the third rotation there. So as long as they can get to Avant-Garde or the place right across from it, they're going to be just fine. Don't even have to worry about any rotations. But what I meant to mention was you actually have so much power in your foresight talent to see where all of these teammates are on the minimap, so that you can see if they're going to be departing from that engagement. You can see if anyone's trying to run up on you and trying to interrupt your rezzing. And Chris was able to play that so smartly just due to that extra information, that he was able to safely get the rest of his teammates up, even seal out a few extra little exiles, as you saw in the kill feed there. He's able to get Gigabyte down, and that's actually going to be really, really nice for the rest of that team. Unfortunate that he wasted a little bit of toxic there, but that's actually huge, because he was able to pre-pot. He was pre-potting. Oh, that is, dude, Chris has a brain on inside of that head, man. You cannot deny that.
My brain, I laughed at first, and then I was like, wait, that was for damage. Like, that's actually so funny, because my initial thought was,
take notes, people.
The sorcery, but no, that's not the case. He's definitely using that, just getting that pre-pot available, and look at their team, man. They're full healthy. They're all rocking the epic gear. It's actually crazy to think that a team that falls down to one player left alive has actually spun it around, got some more exiles, and they continue to push through the map. But look at this. Aggression may not be done here, as Wind Goes Burr might be looking to completely siege this team at the Avant-Garde Summit. But we'll see what happens. It looks like they're just taking a little bit slow now. 14 players left alive in total. This might be the time where they look to slow it down, because while they've had very dominant games, they also do want to continue to keep it consistent. But no, CNT is not interested in that. Is Dworky is going to find that early disruption onto Doc, and now Crisp and Ashen Frost might just have to leave him behind. But look at this, the full-on engagement is going to be coming out very crisp. Going to be finding a reposition here, trying to just stay sneaky, trying to see if he can full disengage, but this is not going to be the case. That is not going to be the case, as it does look like the full engagement has found its way to Chris. Nigel going to find the disruption. Now the last member standing of Wind Goes Burr is going to be Ashen Frost, left to fend for himself, taking a bit of damage, taking a lot of damage, may not be able to stay alive in this one. This might be the end of game number 6 for them.
Yeah, it's not looking too good there. I would imagine this might be a throwaway game if things can pick up from here. But speaking of consistency that you mentioned earlier, Team CNT has consistently been in the kill feed this entire game, and we really need to keep a better eye on them as we're going into the rest of this second half, as they are making some very, very quick ground, already getting 2 disruptions onto Team Wind Goes Burr. Looking for that third one, not going to find it just yet. And as you can see in the kill feed, there are lots of disruptions going around, lots of action to be had here. Dworky actually going to disrupt EU King of NA, who's going to be foe on your score sheets there for, I believe, Team Your Mom. Yes, that's correct. So we'll be keeping an eye on there. It's actually this team right here, Team Dome Carry, is getting TTV Dome Carry, getting very, very heavily damaged and being followed up on. There's no way to escape that combust. Nigel will go ahead and disrupt, but the pickup from Hermaeus Mora onto EU King of NA will keep them still in the fight. So definitely have to keep an eye on that. CNT looking for some more action here, trying to make use of that conduit build that Dworky does have going. It is the damage variant with Fervor, so definitely a lot of melt to be had here. This might be very crisp here, judging off of the Lightning Strike into Shadow Step combo. Still looking to make a better use of his team here. And actually, I didn't see any thirst coming out from Team Wind Goes Burr, so that might actually be their full squad all back up, and look at that. Looks like they are.
Wow. I can't believe it. They've done it yet again. Wingosburg going to be able to stay alive in this one, but CNT has been out for blood in this back half of the qualifier. They're on their home field now. They have that advantage potential. I mean, Wingosburg does have that same potential. Now you do see Doc looking to put out as much damage as possible. Ashenfrost going to be getting very low. This full-on engagement. Nigel going to be not finding the knock, but Nemo going to go down at the hands of Doc. And this is a very scrappy fight. This is all what these teams are looking for. They got themselves nice and comfortable. They found that reset, but they have to perform now. It's going to come down to the communication, maybe potential to find a res onto Crisp. We'll have to see what happens. Ashenfrost going to be getting a little bit of a reset himself. Now Doc, he has to put on the aggression. His health was high. He's going to take a bit of damage himself. Might be that last position to pot, or just to see if he can stay alive a little bit longer. But it's not going to be much left in the tank for Doc. He doesn't want to step into the zone. He's going to go ahead and back himself out of that. Ashenfrost going to be very low yet again. Doc very low on mobility. Ashenfrost, you can see him actually just sitting in that bush, potentially trying to edge out a little bit more points, a little bit more placement for his team. And so many players are going to be so low. Nemo going to be falling at the hands of Doc. Doc continuing his reign. He has to get out of the storm. Ashenfrost going to go down, and now this is Doc, the last player standing for Wingosburg. And it does look like CNT is still trekking through this one. Nigel getting a couple of knocks, and look at that. Nigel going to find it yet again onto Ashenfrost. CNT is looking to step up in the standings, going from second place to potentially first place. 6 players remaining, as we do have Dworky on the main feed now. Dworky finds one exile or one disruption. Now he's going to be looking to pick up his teammate if he can. Nemo going to be back up. And again, we still have 6 players left in total with a potential last 3v3 of the game. Dworky going to be that full healthy player. He's the one sieging through the castle here because he can afford to take the hits. And he is going to do that, taking some damage himself. You actually do see Nemo going to be popping some large potions for himself as well. Hermias Moore going to fall down. And yes, CNT take game number 6.
Man, you're seeing some consistency come out, just like I mentioned earlier in that kill feed, and it looks like the placement will be no different. Team CNT really showing up to play here, getting a nice little exile there, nice little squad wipe. Actually, a few. In that last little engagement, it was them getting 3 squads in a row all the way down. So 3 squad wipes from them. Definitely going to be looking good for the standings. Definitely have to keep an eye on them to take first place coming in. Don't call it a comeback yet, but it's looking a lot like it.
Yeah, and you know, it's actually funny. I'm not sure what the final position was, but as we were cycling cams there, we actually had a small little window where we jumped onto Prokel, and Prokel was the last player left for Slackers. So they might be climbing up the board a little bit themselves. I'm not sure where their exiles, their damage is at, but they actually made it to the end game there. Prokel was able to stay alive, so we'll see what that does in terms of shifting things around. But in terms of shifting things around, talking about the leaderboard, talking about the points, CNT, their player stock, their team stock is rising.
Oh, definitely. You definitely can't count them out in any tournament that has them on their home server or in a similar environment. I mean, they're so mechanically oriented. Just talking about the history of where these guys come from, Nigel, well, really all of them are very, very storied pre-alpha players who were used to that sort of faster pace environment. They're very, very mechanical. So whenever you get them in a situation where ping is not a factor, they definitely can shine. And you're seeing that exact thing coming out right here, especially with the amount of shooters they play. I know that a few of them like to play some fighter games as well. They definitely have that sort of mentality and the practice that it takes to really do well in these sorts of environments here. And you can already see it looks like they picked up 14 exiles right here, along with over 3,700 damage. Actually had a better game this time than they did for game 5. They are climbing up very, very quickly. So keep an eye on them as you type in exclamation scores. They'll be doing very, very well for themselves. And of course, with these last 2 games coming up, you cannot forget that we are only taking the best 6 out of the 8 games. So even though that they had 4 kind of lackluster games in the NA side of things, 2 of them are going to be dropped. So we'll keep that in mind going on. This will be the point in the tournament where games are starting to be dropped. So keep an eye on those final scores because it's going to change radically.
Yeah, and not just the fact that they had a better game than the last game. They were the only team in the current qualifier 8 that has 2 wins, but not only 2 wins, back-to-back wins. So CNT really making a statement here, kind of just back-to-back unanswered dominant games. And so you know, so far the dominating force, the rock in the hard place for them was Wingosburg. They weren't really able to break past them, and them both being EU teams kind of paints an interesting picture about about how, one team was doing really well on NA, and CNT was kind of keeping themselves in there definitely, but they swapped over to EU, and now they are looking like the team to beat. So it's going to be very interesting going into the last couple of games. Again, it's so hard to see the full picture of the standings and where everything fall. I'm paying attention to our leaderboards here, but ultimately it's going to come down to the final game, the final scores they get put in, and whether or not they can compete with that bottom 10th place position for that final slot. This is the final qualifier. Again, shout out to Proletariat for helping us put this one on. So we're going to be moving into the grand finals and that $1,500 prize pool.
Yeah, definitely. As we're updating the scores here, I'm looking at Team Win Goes Burr, and it looks like we don't have the damage filled out quite yet. It's being filled in as I speak here. So it looks like they do have a score of 302 for that last game that just got put in, and that actually puts them at 2,533 points. So it looks like they will be one of your final teams to make it in to these qualifiers, if I'm correct. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. So currently sitting at a pretty high place here. Actually, looks like we're still updating it, so put a rain check on that. But keep an eye on to Ashen Frost's exiles and damage as we go forward with the rest of this event. So we'll have to see how that finishes out there. But to talk about some of these other teams here, we definitely saw a pretty good placement, like you were mentioning, from Team Slackers. I mean, they really hunkered down and really managed to get that third place finish. And it was a pretty impressive finish compared to what they were doing earlier. So definitely a good adjustment from Cherry Time, Cozy, and Procol to really make that work for them. I know Cherry Time was popping off early on, getting 2 very early disruptions. So definitely not something to shake your head at. That is a very good performance against some of the best players in the world.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's a lot of teams here that are still improving. Maybe some of these rosters that have been formed for the last little bit of the qualifiers are just teams that are looking to jump in and get into the action. But that's not necessarily the case. Some of these players are making names for themselves. I actually had the pleasure of playing up against Streetface in one of my Clash games. I think it was either this morning or last night. And
he's great.
Yeah, he's a great player, phenomenal player. So definitely looking forward to the future of some more Street Face and the Scuff Squad, seeing how they can continue to perform. Kyrie Caitlin, the rest of her team as well. And just again, I like telling the stories of some of the lesser youth classes. Again, the only reason I bring it up is because I'm personally the one thinking that it's really fun to watch these Tempest play. Tempest is a really fun class to see. The same thing goes for when Solar Bears on the screen. It's really fun to see Hermias Mora pulling out the Frostborn as well. So watching some of these like lesser used classes and seeing the effectiveness that they can bring is always a pretty good time. But we have 2 more games OSK. I mean, what are your thoughts? Where's your mind at right now?
Man, I'll tell you what, my mind is just how can CNT perform here to affect the final scores? Currently, where they're sitting at, I believe that they were doing pretty well getting into the final qualifications for our top 10 teams going into finals. So I don't think that they have any danger of losing that particular accolade, but it will be interesting to see how they affect the placements of every other team that is in here. I know World Tier definitely needs to get a bit of a higher score to qualify. I know that Win Goes Burr is one of those teams that need to improve just a little bit to get that qualifying score. So it'll be interesting to see as we're continuing within this EU side of things, if CNT does ruin some of these chances, or if the other teams can step up and really get them out in the early game. I would imagine it's going to be interesting to see if teams have been keeping track of where each other has been dropping, because that's another dynamic we need to talk about here. Is you can drastically affect the standings of a tournament by dropping really, really early on onto maybe a top finishing team and trying to grief them very, very early. So it'll be interesting to see if Win Goes Burr does want to if they do want to incorporate that strategy, or if other teams that maybe aren't doing as well want to do that to them. So we'll have to see how that shakes out, but I do believe that's the adjustment you want. I do know that Palpu Promise is doing a particularly great job of getting to dominant positions very, very early on in these zones. So I do expect these teams to adjust kind of how they're playing in terms of that. And I would imagine they're taking a very good page from that book to try to beat other teams to these dominant positions. I do believe that that's the play if you want to finish first in this tournament.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be interesting because, you know, in all my time, you know, kind of like in the battle royale esports scene, you know, with some other
Mhm.
games as well as Spellbreak, it's always interesting to see the off spawn drama that can happen. I couldn't think of a better word there. The off spawn storylines. We'll call it storylines that can
Yeah.
come out because you know the thing about like choosing a drop spot and like perfecting a drop spot is you know, in a game like Spellbreak you may not always get it because the portals shift around, but you can kind of, you know, you can learn a couple of spots for sure. But in other battle royales, that's really, it becomes the meta for a team to like master drop spots, become the best at it that they can. And it's more unlikely in other battle royales. I feel like that you might see a team employ a strategy like fully swapping their drop and just hard landing on enemy team, but that's not necessarily the case when it comes to Spellbreak. There's, you know, you have more of a fight potential by just landing with your gauntlet in hand. You don't have to loot with like an arbitrary weapon or just like two noodles. And, you know, there's more potential for you to have a dominant start by landing on an enemy team and target focusing them. And while that might cause a little bit of drama and a controversy in terms of like it being a specific targeted grief, I think that this particular battle royale is the perfect game for that to be more of an employed strategy and much less of a like a focal point for drama. But looking at the kill feed, Ashen Frost and Very Chris, they're already going to be taken out of team. What was that? I think it was going to be team 8 in the kill feed.
That's going to be Slackers, actually.
Slackers, yeah. So they take out Slackers very early on. So unfortunately, Slackers are going to go down. But we're going to be on board with Cap and Happy. So they're just looting up, just trying to see what they can find. They actually all have some purple, some epic belts already. So pretty good situation to be in.
Hey, Taco's kind of a 180 there, picking the Stone Shaper instead of Tempest. Wonder what that's got going on there. It would be very interesting to see Taco's pick an ambidextrous build with a Wind offhand, if that's what he wants to do. I know he loves the Wind Surge passive coming from Tempest, so maybe that's the play here. Maybe he's just opting for a full tank build. Maybe he's just experimenting in the competitive environment to see what's good and what's not. We do see Fortitude coming out though, so it'll be very interesting to see what kind of adjustment he's making going forward. Probably realizing he's not going to have a first place finish, but still just trying to experiment and get a little bit of knowledge as to what he can do in the future, I would imagine. But going forward here, we do see that Team Prospect is rotating in towards the western side of Halcyon, already going to spot out a team, but it's going to be a little bit too late. They flee the scene before any action can erupt, and not wanting to draw attention to themselves just yet, they will opt to quietly loot, quietly get a little bit of better gear here. Taco's already going to be picking up that epic stone, so lots of damage going to be coming out of Team Prospect.
Yeah, he does have the epic stone, like you said, but he doesn't have any other gear pieces. He's got the epic belt. We do see Captain Happy kind of moving himself through the map and a little bit of action in the kill feed. But yeah, and you know, just to see Taco's on the Stone Shaper, it might be because of the ping disadvantage. Maybe he's just not super comfortable. But look at that. Hermias Mora and his team going to find a few kills. Your mom looking to pop off in this one.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's always nice when you see your mom popping off. It's always great. You know, jokes aside, though, I would really like to see them kind of improve that score. I do believe that they have the potential to get into fifth place here. It actually looks currently in the scores that sixth place is sitting at 1118 and fifth place is sitting at 1190. So definitely an opportunity for your mom to break top 5. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they can do. And look at this, man. We got Cap and Happy. They're just playing their positioning right now. They're all very healthy and kind of chilling. Taco's, I can't believe that they've actually traversed through the map and he hasn't found some kind of boots or an amulet. I'm pretty sure that's not a spectator bug. That would be very interesting because I haven't seen that one yet. But we're going to be moving on to Hermias Mora. His team, they're just kind of chilling, looking for some more of this mid-game action, mid-game looting that they can find. And look at this, the inventory is already looking so nice. They have some scrolls, they have some loot, they've got some pretty great belts, amulets, and boots, and we'll see what they can do. Right now, EU King of NA, I love that name.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually Foe in the score sheets. If you guys are looking and can't find that name, it is Foe. That's F-A-U-X in the score sheet. So if you get confused, you've heard it here first. So EU King of NA doing a great job of looting up here. This is Team Your Mom, of course. Definitely looking to break into that top 5 finish. So We'll have to see how they can adjust. And in the kill feed here, we're going to see Very Crisp pick up a nice exile into Rikumaru 52. That is going to add to their score. Definitely a better showing already than it was in the last one. And Doc actually picking up a nice exile as well. We're going to jump over to Team CNT, seeing what they can do. This has to be Team Prospect, and it is. Tacos will get melted by the lightning. So Dwerky doing a great job of keeping the pressure up. So much pressure that the bubble has popped. And that will be Tacos already down. Now it's one member down. We'll have to see how they adjust going into the latter part of this engagement. Looks like Tacos is doing a decent job of moving with his orb form, trying to break away from all the action so his team can get him up. We'll have to see how that works out for him. But in the meantime, Dwerky's doing a great job of pressing the action along with Nigel, really keeping the pressure going, trying to get a little bit of lightning. He is being melted bit by bit, and that health is starting to disappear.
Yeah, Worlds here in the kill feed as well, finding themselves a good amount of exiles. But Dwerky has this enemy player on the backside that's going to be capping happy, not going to be able to make any kind of waves happen. As Nigel going to peel off for Dwerky, find that exile, or that knock, and it does look like that's going to be the full team. Unfortunately, Tacos and the rest of Team Prospect are going to fall, and that's another CNT team wipe as they're going to continue. They get more scrolls, more action. And speaking of action, Street Face is going to be on our screen now, trying to disengage. He's going to be using this flight rune because he needs to back up. He does have this knowledge potion. Oh, look, just barely slipping past that. Oh, I don't think he means to do this. This is going to be an interesting situation, but he is going to go ahead and use that. The Firefly going to try to away, but no, Hermias Mora says, excuse me, sir, I am a Frostborn, and I'm just not quite sure that Cubby can do it like me. So Hermias Mora making a statement there. Unfortunately, man, that's a tough situation to get into a fight with a knowledge potion and not be able to use it, not be able to reset. But we do still have Cactus Lord and Cubby. They're going to be alive. They might be able to make a play. It does look like Street Face is just super split from them, so this could be a potential exile happening very soon. We'll have to see. That was probably a long-range shot. And look at his teammates, man. Floating through the air there.
Yeah, and we see Team Wingo's Burr actually overseeing this area. So it is not just Scuff Squad, it's not just your mom. That's actually Wingo's Burr also overseeing this area. So plenty of squads to be had in this particular area. And we can see Doc just trying to press the action here with this close range build, the fire and the stone offhand, really trying to get some work done against this Frostborn. Doing a pretty good job of it so far. He's able to landscape all the way down this mountain due to the terrain. And really just a great job overall. We see in the kill feed, though, Kyrie Caitlin going to take out Dwerky of Team CNT. It's going to be a little bit of a hiccup in the strategy there. We'll have to see if anything meaningful comes out of that. But in the meantime, we do have Team Wingo's Burr trying to approach this squad. Looks like it might be Team Your Mom, or it could be Team Scuff Squad. We'll have to check and see. But in the meantime, this is going to be Team Palpu Promise doing some work here. Gigabyte, though, from Team World Tier going to interrupt and get an exile off to Kyrie Caitlin. Street Face will time out, and that will be an exile to him. Calculated going to go down as well. Team World Tier just ruining Palpu Promise's day.
Yeah, Eureka is going to be the last member standing. You see him at the top of that castle, that tower, trying to get a reset for himself. Calculated might be able to squeal away into a comfortable position, but World Tier really just not interested in letting it happen. You actually do see Dome Carry getting a disruption, or I think that might be an exile onto Cubby as well, as it does look like, yeah, Ashen Frost going to finish that one up for them. So maybe a little convoluted fight around the map. Those were going to be the last two players left standing. Now, Primo-tastic actually getting a disruption onto Nigel. So CNT is getting into a fight up against what might be, World Tier in this, kind of close section of the map. It does look like Eureka's still just trying to survive, but the health bar is ticking over low. So now we're going to be moving over to Dome Carries. They do have this high ground position.
Yeah, and it looks like, unfortunately, it's going to be Palpu Promise fully exiled and out of the lobby. Unfortunate for them, but very fortunate for Team CNT. Now, you do see a full thirst going in the way of Nigel here, so a bit of a hiccup in the operation, but not completely out. We do have, looks like Team Your Mom really approaching and trying to push this advantage that they found here in the late game, trying to just get a quick little exile. It's going to be just a little bit more damage to seal this one out. Unfortunately, it does hit the higher health opponent, so a little bit more work to be done, but Your Mom is doing work, of course. Now we have EU King of NA trying to get a nice little bit of action going, and Gigabyte will be disrupted due to his efforts. Dome Carry going to try to reposition here on some of the roofs of this Gritfeld area, trying to really make a case for himself on the conduit. Just a little bit of buzz is left for the health. and it's not going to be enough there. It has to disengage, a lot of damage going his way due to the boulder that just came in, and now looking to reset.
Yeah, your mom, they're going to be finding themselves in the zone here, looking for that reset. They do know that that player might be out in the storm, surviving in the storm behind them. It does look like Kyrie, Caitlyn, and the rest of Team Palpu Promise is not going to be able to stay alive in this one. Looking at the kill feed, I do think that they were exiled. 11 players left remaining, and this game has been pretty fast and loose. So you do see right now your mom kind of camping at the edge of the zone, your mom being very vigilant.
So just make all the jokes.
Yeah, you know, I was reaching for it, and then I thought, you know what, maybe I've played this out too much, so I just kind of leaned off of it a little bit. But look at this. Your mom is absolutely engaging. She's going in very fast and hard, and she's just trying to find as much damage on this enemy player. The last one remaining, I don't know if they're going to be able to find that one, but presumably that player is going to be dead. At some point, they're not going to be able to stay up there much longer. Ashen Frost finding a disruption onto Nemo as well. And no ace. Oh, there he is. Yeah, not going to stay alive. He's going to go ahead and get disrupted. So, you know, we got a little bit of world tier hanging out in the zone. I'm not sure where Primo and Gigabyte are, if they're actually still alive somewhere. I do think actually Foe was able to take down Gigabyte. So that might be the final finish of them. I'm not sure. Primo might still be alive somewhere. We'll have to see. But it does look like 11 players still, 10 players probably still left alive, actually standing on the ground. A little bit of a slowdown now because, again, this game was pretty fast and loose. It was really like a lot of fights were happening very quickly. Oh, Hermes Moore are going to be taking a lot of damage, but we are going to swap over to Ashen Frost. This is a very healthy team now. They have the high ground position here, this kind of like side castle over here next to Gritfeld. We'll see what they can do. Ashen Frost looking to take a little bit of focus here, has that high ground. Will he be able to find a shot? You do see that ping coming out from Doc. They do, you know, they're able to spot out this player. That actually might be Gigabyte or Primo, rather. Could be someone left in. You see the Feather Fog hanging out at the edge of the zone. And this, again, the zone is still big, and it allows for a lot of these teams to kind of like squeal away. But so many fights that happened earlier in the match, and it does look like Wind Goes Burr might be looking to chase up and finish out some of these teams.
Yeah, and looks like Ashen Frost doing a great job of hunting down his next target here. All the shield is gone. It's going to be a prime opportunity for him to land a quick Frost. But just as I say that, Doc is going to find a nice disruption onto Gigabyte. So he might have gotten rezzed up, but he is now back down in orb form. Walking on Sunshine is Gigabyte. Now we'll have Ashen Frost trying to follow up on this bit of an engagement here. Nice little bit of Fire Tornado being created to create some chaos, but not going to connect on the Frost to follow up. Now having to get to a little bit of a higher position, going to burn a rune for it. Will it be worth it? And looks like not so far. Going to lose most of his shield there due to the conduit damage. Having to watch this next zone, as it will do a ton of damage, especially now that it is the final zone. Having to make sure he's fully within when that timer resets. Now looking for a quick little reset of his own here. Trying to still fit within that final zone, but he will just get by the skin of his teeth here. Dome Carry doing a great job of keeping this tower secured. As I say that, he does get forced off, but now looking to get a miniature reset with the shields. Going to find an opponent, though. This is actually my hiding spot. Unfortunately, his flame wall will glitch and get on the platform just above where he was trying to put it. So unfortunate for him there, and that's going to be the rest of his team already disrupted. It is just Dome Carry looking to absolutely carry the rest of his squad.
Wow, and the kill feed, looking at it, I know it's disruptions paired with the exiles, but Doc is lighting it up. They do still have this high ground position. You already see one of those players is going to be knocked as well. You see Ashen Frost pushing himself down towards this bottom ground. So it does look like they're just looking to chase up some of these last little bit, the last remaining players. But again, Ashen Frost on the Tempest using that updraft just to reclaim that high ground instantaneously for his squad. So he's going to be taking a little bit slow now. Again, all three of them left alive. And what presumably is like the last one or two members. You see them hanging out the edge of the zone. The lightning strike's going to be coming down. They're just putting out so much pressure. You see this last player, most likely going to be the last one standing, is going to go on ahead and fall. And yes, there it is. Win goes Burr, catching a win in this game right here. What is the game 7 right now?
Yeah, that was game 7. We're going to be getting into game 8 very shortly. But man, you can talk about Win goes Burr. I'm going to talk about Doc going Burr. You could see the full squad wipes are courtesy of him alone. That's 6 exiles at least already to his name. Man, we can talk about Doc all day with that surgical precision. My goodness, that is a great finish for Team Win goes Burr.
Okay, buddy, the surgical precision. I see.
Absolutely, man. Don't deny it.
You did there, you know. Okay.
Better than your mom jokes, right?
Listen, it was classy. It was a classy your mom
It
joke.
was classy. It was classy. I will give you that.
Listen,
Give you that.
when the silver platter is handed to me and they're like, "Hey, Crashy, you're immature, right?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I have to roll with it." But the scores are being updated. Game number 7 is done, and we have not only just one final game, but it's going to be the last game of all of the Element Fusion qualifiers, and then we will be looking to see the 10 team. We got 10 teams moving on to the finals. Only 10 teams can make it. And there's been 8 hard-fought qualifiers, but it's not over yet. One final game. As the scores are getting updated, that's really the only thing I can sit here and wait on. I mean, I just want to see who's contending, who's been rising and falling. I mean, World's here finding themselves pretty deep in that game. CNT, I mean, Kyrie Caitlin and her squad, the Pow Poo Promise were able to get themselves a little bit further as well. They're kind of keeping their position consistent. They're not really rising to the top of this pack in this qualifier, but they've been keeping their performance pretty consistent. And just lots of things in action. We'll have to see how the standings kind of solidify themselves, especially going to this last game again, taking 6 of the 8 and tying that into your final scores. And you're trying to be the top 10 teams, one of the top 10 teams out of all 8 qualifiers.
Yeah, and I think we can safely say at this point that Team Wingos Burr has gotten enough score up to this point to make it into your final top 10 teams. They will be sitting with a score as of right now of 2,787 points going into here game number 8. Still plenty of opportunity to improve upon that score, given that they did have 2 lackluster showings going into the second half. But again, they will be making the qualifiers for sure. And actually, a nice little announcement I'd like to make as well. Looks like I have word from our production crew that we will actually have a nice little top 10 list of all the finalists that are going to make it into the finals 2 weeks from now. So great job from Thunderson to go ahead and confirm that for me. Of course, we'll keep a rain check on it in case plans do change. But as of right now, we are going to be looking to show you those top 10 teams here at the very, very end of this broadcast. Of course, we still got one more game to play here in the Element Fusion qualifier number 8. It's going to be interesting to see just how some of these teams can improve their standing, see what it's going to take to really get into that top 5 finish. So far, we're seeing your mom putting on a show, making it into 4th place as of right now.
What did you just say to me?
Mom's putting on a show, my man.
Listen, she's talented. No.
She is very talented. Don't carry Hermaeus Mora and Foe, otherwise known as EU King of NA, are doing fantastic. So your mom having a very good showing.
I can't. I'm not old enough for this. I'm not mature enough for this.
You're older than I am.
No, I don't mean literally older. Hey, listen. Hey, slow down, buddy. Yo, the boomer joke's coming out now. Listen, you're talking about my mom. You're talking about my age. Yeah, I guess you got me there. But hey, man, we got one more game, and this has been a long series coming, right? Like a long set of qualifiers, week in, week out. We've had back-to-back games, back-to-back teams. We've seen team changes, seen metas form and evolve, the rise of Foresight. Now you got me, this qualifier alone. I mean, obviously I wasn't paying attention, but this one alone is going to have to make me revisit my tier list. You know what I mean? Like it's you
might want to rethink that Foresight placement.
Yeah, Foresight, man. It's funny because look, I mean, there's no denying that taking Foresight makes you a weaker battle mage, because you could just look at it as like, hey, I could just have Fervor instead. But it's what you do with the Foresight. And that's why, like, I think the best way of explaining it, I've said it a few times, is it's not value given, it's value earned. And the thing is the ceiling for that value that you can earn is higher than something that just is given to you value-wise. But you got to do it, right? So it's interesting, right? I mean, I think that there are definitely teams that could very strongly benefit from Foresight. There are probably teams that maybe not so much. It just comes down to the decision making, the shot calling, and those micro decisions about what you do, how you utilize that information. Are you able to take that and use it as like a permanent UAV to just push around the map and slay out and get a bunch of exiles? If you can, then I'd say you're doing a pretty good job with it.
Yeah, definitely. It's all a matter of it's all a matter of who the wielder is, and it's really just proving just how great of a shot caller Very Crisp is for his team. It didn't quite work out as well in qualifier number 5, but in this qualifier particularly, it is working to great success, and you cannot deny that going into this last game here. We will get to it very, very quickly. We are still dropping in and getting that lobby all ready for you guys. Game number 8 will be here very, very soon. Man, I could be here all day talking about Win Goes Burr, but I do want to give a nice little shout out to all the teams that came up here today. Even if you didn't have the best showing today, do have to keep in mind that these are some of the best players in the world currently playing Spellbreak. And of course, as we go in to these future updates, hopefully bringing in some more players, you got to imagine that this is just great practice for getting that content grind going. And of course, for future competitive events featured by us here at Element. And just another quick little thank you over to the team at Proletariat for sponsoring this particular event. A quick reminder that the winner of this event will get $30. That's 10 per person on the squad. Tend to get that out pretty quickly. And of course, for the finals, we have that final prize pool of $1,500 going to our top finishers. It's going to be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do believe that we have word from production that game number 8 is just getting started. So we're going to be jumping into that very, very soon. The last game, not only is it game number 8, but it's going to be the last game of the 8 qualifying rounds that we had, that we featured lots of players, lots of teams, lots of talent on PC and on console. So definitely make sure that you're getting involved. If you're someone new, maybe you happen to be scrolling by and you see this broadcast, and you're not really sure what's going on here, definitely jump into the Element Discord. It's going to have a lot of information, a lot of participation and things that you can get into, and some fun events, some scrims, some tourneys, some broadcasts. If you just want to be a watcher, if you want to be a lurker, someone that's in the community, definitely get involved. It's going to be a good time. But yeah, so we look forward to the future. Chapter 1 is right around the corner, but enough about that. We have game number 8. We're going to be jumping in hot and heavy now. We're going to be on Lil Oxio, and they're going to be getting in a fight here very, very here.
Yeah, it looks like we have Liloxio trying to really push this advantage going in very early on. No belts for their team, but it doesn't matter because Eldegold's leading the way. Going to go ahead and get a little bit of shield from his Stone Shaper class. That's going to be a big stun, though, coming out onto Liloxio, and that might be his life. 1 HP, literally, no resources to regenerate that from. So with the wind offhand, there's really not much he can do in terms of this fight. Now he's just trying to slap a little bit of extra damage, but that's going to ultimately be the end of him. As we say that, though, we do have Ashen Frost going to get the full exile onto 2 members of a team there. It's going to be Zenith and Dway going to be out. But we also see Streetface getting a nice little... You get a nice little disruption. That's going to be the thirst coming out from Cubby. So a nice start for Scuff Squad so far. Looking to finish out the rest of them. It's your boy Ross is going to pick up the full exile. Looks like that's going to be onto Team Slackers. They'll be out completely. And that's a pretty nice change going for Boomers and Sun, really to get that score up from their previous performances.
And look at this. We're going to be on Wind Goes Burr, and they're dropping at a different location, I believe, OSK. This is going to be here over at the Halcyon area, and we have not seen them land here or play here early game at all. So changing it up, maybe target dropping on an enemy team. They have some information that, we might not have or that I don't have. And look at that. It's going to be CNT Nigel getting the first disruption onto Doc, and this is going to be such a big fight here. Ashen Frost looking to follow that up on a disruption onto Nigel as well. The 2 downed players, 1 for either team. You do see Chris going to be looking to get up Doc very quickly, and this is the engagement that we were talking about, that potential to push over out of your comfort zone and look to end a team and their potential, snuff them out very early. This is game number 8. It has to go in favor of both of these teams. One of these teams can only be the winner, and Dwarky finds the second, the last player standing. Going to be very crisp left from Wind Goes Burr, and if he cannot clutch this out, if there's no potential for him to wipe this team, that's going to be the end of their qualifier. Very crisp. 1, 2, 3. CNT locking it down. That's going to be Dwarky.
Yeah, and they're very, very thankful that we're counting the best 6 out of 8 right there, as they already have a score to secure themselves into that final spot. So that's definitely a good job of them earlier on, but very, very thankful are they for having a consistent performance up to that point. So that's the end of their tournament run. Thankfully, it looks like it was enough, but we'll see how Team CNT are going to play this out going forward. They still have plenty of opportunity to improve upon their NA scores that they had. So we'll see what their final standings will be. Looks like 3 exiles already going to go over to Dwerky and not much else to the rest of his team here. So we'll have to see if he spreads the love here in the future. Captain Happy going to get a nice little snipe onto his opponent there. Looking to get the flash freeze out. Doesn't quite get through the animation before getting stunned. Trying to defend his teammate of Tacos there, but he is taking a lot of health in the process. The Dragonfire is huge. That's going to be Hoof taking out Gigabyte, and that's a snipe coming in from no ways. What a pickup. Now it is just Hoof on the full shields, the full health. Let's see if he can pull it out here, Crashy.
Yeah, Team Prospect Hoof, the last man standing, is going to be going up against the remaining players of World Tier. This is going to be a pretty important fight for them. The zone is going to be closing as well. They do have some heals, and look at that. Captain Happy is going to have that knowledge in the pocket. So we might see a similar situation to earlier, but no, this is going to be a storm fight. They're not going to let him walk away. Hoof has 2 on his back. He's going to have to try to fight this one out. Might have all 3. Yes, he does. That's going to be World Tier finding the pickup onto Gigabyte or whatever teammate that was down in AA. It doesn't matter. They're going to get themselves a few exiles. They're going to get themselves some knowledge as well. So we'll see them trek through the map as they're going to go ahead and clean this one up.
Definitely getting that knowledge out there. Trying to get it fed to the correct person. We'll have to see who it ends up going to. I do believe they'll want to give it to looks like that might be is that Primo-tastic? No. Yeah, yes, that is going to be Primo-tastic.
Yeah.
I would imagine they feed him for the boulders, but we'll have to see how CNT is going to shake things up here on the western side, southwestern side of Halcyon. Still going Buzz with that conduit is Dwerky, not taking too much damage in that particular engagement. Has the teleport off a cooldown and will use it to disengage courtesy of that Frost Gauntlet. So trying to get his shields all the way back up, trying to get those small potions going. Will also provide a passive effect due to Thirsty for the rest of his team. So definitely something to be, definitely something to keep in mind there. Nigel living on 1 HP just inside the zone though, will definitely need to be a little bit more careful than he normally would. You can see his bar is almost completely out. I thought he was disrupted at first, and it looks like that will be confirmed by Dome Carry of Team Your Mom. He will go ahead and get the final disruption onto, looks like Nigel there. So it'll be interesting to see if they end up getting the thirst off. Seems that CNT are doing a good job of keeping them off that beautiful little orb, and we'll have to see how this re-engagement goes up.
Yeah, CNT, they do have a player down, and we're going to see if Nemo and Dwerky are able to save Mr. Thornberry, but we'll have to follow up with that in just a minute. 22 players left alive. They may just try to stay alive in this one, put some more points up on the board. Unfortunately, it does look like Nigel might be getting left in the dust. We'll have to see what happens. But Dwerky is in full disengage. It looks like, you know what, not really all that interested. And look at that kill feed. The floor is pizza goes down.
The floor is pizza indeed. I love it, man. Pizza is exactly. Have you ever had like really, really hot pizza straight out of the oven? You take a bite and it just ruins your mouth. It's just terrible.
Is that how the floor is pizza? Because you drop it because it's so hot?
Yes, exactly. Drop it like it's hot, baby. We got all the jokes coming in today.
Yo, Mr. Thornberry gets saved.
Hey, we got our favorite Nickelodeon character coming right out. My childhood is saved. Coming right into the zone, doing a really good job of funneling all of the health potions towards his way. You can see it restoring on your screen in the bottom left there. So looks like they'll get out scot-free here. Nothing really doing for any engagement so far. And we will find in the kill feed here that it is Team World Tier going to find the finish onto Team Boomers and Sun. Not the best finish for them, but still got to keep an eye on them in the future. Still plenty of practice to be had in this particular event. Hermaeus Mora looking to land some quick little frost snipes. Nothing doing so far, courtesy of that little rampart there. Going to block the shot and also the flame wall there. But look at this. They are getting hard approached on now. The flight will come out, so he will be able to go ahead and disengage in that Harmony, preventing the stun. Looks like they will be able to get a quick little reset out, but the targeting is happening right now. That's a little bit of lightning damage going out right here. The flash freeze will not be enough to block all of this damage. He is going to get out by the skin of his teeth. A little bit of shield, a little bit of health, but he has to still be very careful, opting to not damage this opponent, trying to stay very, very sneaky, and it looks like that will work for the moment. We'll have to see if he does full disengage. looking just to reposition just a little bit, trying to stay into the pocket, but it is not going to be enough. That's going to be a finish. That's going to be Team World Tier finding themselves again on the scoreboard.
Yeah, unfortunately, your mom was not able to stick it out. They took so much damage.
Oh
look at
my
the
gosh,
damage.
stop it, please.
Back to back damage. All of this engagement just coming down to that one single focal point, that one tiny room. You're going to see that No Ace not going to be able to stay alive, and Gigabyte going to be returning some fire onto Eureka's. So we'll see if they're able to kind of recollect themselves. You see Primo Tastic and Gigabyte just taking it slow here on this low ground side. And look at the gear that No Ace has, man. That common spring step, that hurts the soul, man. That hurts me in the heart.
It does, but it is the fastest cooldown of any common rune. So you can see there, I think it's either 8 seconds or 7.5. I forget the exact number, but it's still very, very low in comparison to others. It's still better than a legendary teleport, for example, and a legendary flight. And No Ace just proving that he's better than the average competitive player, as he is able to go ahead and rotate out and get that last little bit of damage onto Calculated. That is going to be Team Palpu Promise out of the tournament. And this is going to be 11 people left, so 8 enemies to go for Team World Tier. We'll have to see how everything shakes out here, but so far, they are sitting pretty.
Yeah, we'll see how they shake things out, like they shook out your mom. They were not able to stay alive in this one. No Ace going to be moving forward. He has 4 exiles just to himself, 11 kills, or 11 players rather, left alive in total. This is going to be another one of those zones where it's actually kind of a bigger zone because there's just been so much action. But look at this. Speaking of action, we're going to be jumping on board with Nemo. So they do have a little bit of a storm fight happening out here on the edge. So it does kind of slow down a little bit now. See who they might be fighting, what kind of engagement might be happening, but it looks like that team actually looks like they're putting a little bit of space there. Look at that ice lance coming out from Nemo. Finds a big shot at max range. Is he going to find it and confirm that knock? No, he's not. But that's going to be World Tier. Primo Tastic looking to find a disruption onto Firon. They're in that full engagement, looking to see if they can pick up points, some more of this damage from these players that are in the game. Look at that. No Ace not gonna Firefly through that one. It looks like it just gets caught, cut in half there. But CNT is still in this one. Mr. Thornberry is back from the grave. He's going to be getting some damage and a disruption and exile onto El Gold, and that's going to be Cactus Sword. Is going down to the hands of Gigabyte. So World Tier, they know that they have to fly around a little bit here, and they're looking to do so.
Yeah, definitely. And it's important to know that this is on their off server as well. And this might be the best game that they have so far. That's Mr. Thornberry coming in on No Ace there. Nigel, 0.17. It's only a fraction of his power. Going to be taking out No Ace. And now we have Nemo just trying to get a little bit more of an advantage off for the rest of his team. Gonna try to hit this floating opponent, not gonna work, but that's a lot of lightning strikes coming out. That's a lot of damage, it's a lot of stun, and this is a nice frost lineup, but it will be the counter stun coming out. One more frost, and that's gonna be it. Gigabyte will sink into the grave. Nemo will pick up all of his loot.
World Tier falling at the hands of CNT as they are continuing their domination. The final potential 3v3, you have to assume, might cut down to this final fight. And if not, it could be, a couple of teams, couple of players squilling themselves away, and it actually might be the case. You see that Featherfall going to be jumping out, and Noah's going to be taking that front-hand position, or actually, sorry, Nemo going to be taking that forward position, Nigel, rather. So I'm going to be correcting myself for the third time, and that's going to be a quick disruption onto that last player. The last member standing is going to be this last one, and it does look like CNT is going to find a third win. Street Face, putting himself toward the end there yet again, is going to find that second place position. But CNT find not only their third win, it wasn't back-to-back, but another just dominant game. They're keeping it very consistent ever since swapping. These last 4 games for CNT have been very, very, very dominant, to say the least.
Yeah, I do have to say so. And actually, you know what? On the EU servers, they're on their home servers. That's actually 3 of 4 games that they finished in first place, and with a fair amount of exiles too. I would have to imagine they're feeling pretty good about the stat sheet coming out here on the second half of this event here. Almost getting double digits for every win that they get. Actually, no, they will get double digits of exiles every win that they got. I do believe they're sitting at 12, 14, and 11 on their 3 wins. So very, very nice showing on the second half here. Wish that first half was a little bit better, but we'll have to see how these final scores shake out. There's going to be a little bit closer than initially thought, but still, just great job all around. World Tier making a great comeback here in the latter part of this tournament. Unfortunately, we will see some, well, fortunately for some, unfortunately for others, we'll see a little bit of a shift in the standings here for the top 5 finishes. But it's almost a foregone conclusion at this point that Win Goes Burr on their second qualifier to participate in will make it to the final top 10 for your finals here 2 weeks from now. And as we get these top 5 finishes up ready for you, we'll have them all nice and displayed. I do have word here from the back end that we do not actually have a graphic to display the final top 10 who made it in to qualify. So that will actually be announced on the Discord. You can find that there right here below the stream. You can also type in exclamation Discord, follow the link there. It will be announced later on once we finalize those scores. So coming into this top 5, we saw some very, very nice gameplay coming in on the second half of this tournament, Crashy. So, yeah, lots to talk about right now.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely saw a pretty major shift coming out from CNT versus Win Goes Burr. It was a battle of the EU teams mixed in with a couple of other strong contenders as well, like World Tier and Prospect was working through the map. Paupu Promise, they were keeping it fairly consistent. Like I said, it didn't really seem like they caught their footing and were able to have like their dominant performances that they were looking for, but they kept themselves fairly consistent, getting to endgame in most of the games. And pretty good performance coming out from them as well. So going to be very interesting to see who lands in that like 3 to 5 range, because it just feels like, at least in my mind without looking at it, feels like it was pretty close between a few teams. And then actually really the 4 and 5th spot is really what I should say there, because like 1 through 3, you kind of see a pretty carved out position with those teams, and I don't know which one lands where. We're going to be seeing that very soon, and then ultimately that will lead into the final scores for the finals. So if you want to get involved, you want to get all that information, make sure you're checking out the social media, the Element Twitter, the Discord. Get involved, make sure that you're integrated into the competitive scene, into what's going on with Element, and be ready for that. So we're waiting, we're still getting some of these scores tallied in. I'm watching that score sheet right now as they're updating it, and then we're going to get that final top 5. And again, this was qualifier 8, the final qualifier. We're going to have that grand finals, and shout out to Proletariat helping us put this one on, providing that ultimate prize pool. And again, the number 1 team is going to get that $30 finish, so $10 for every player, and leading into that grand finals for a total of $1,500.
Absolutely. And speaking of that prize pool here, you can yourself contribute to this prize pool. If you would like to donate down in the box below, you can go ahead and put some little money in. 70% of it will go directly to the prize pool, while 30% of it will go towards improving the production. Our beautiful graphics that we have up here, thanks to our beautiful artists and graphic team. And of course, if you'd like to give a little bit of ched to some of your favorite production members, then 30% of what you donate will go towards that. Of course, we do have to talk about our future events coming up right after this event. Keep in mind that finals will be 2 weeks from now. It will be on a Saturday. But tomorrow we are still having the streamed solo scrims, so keep an eye out for that. That'll be at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do have the scrims all throughout the rest of this week. And brand new to Element, we're going to have some console scrims on Saturday. That will be, it looks like, at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep an eye out for that. Those of you that are on the sticks, those of you that like to play on PS4, Xbox, maybe a little bit of a Switch. I do believe we're doing primarily PS4 and Xbox. But if there's a squad event going on, actually it looks like it's solo. So I would imagine that's going to be PS4 and Xbox. Sorry for misspeaking there. But 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Saturday, the 28th after Thanksgiving. Go ahead, feel free to hop in. We'll get some console scrims sent your way, PC scrims and squad scrims throughout the whole rest of the week. So be sure to tune in for that. And of course, we will be getting these scores up here very, very shortly for you guys.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how the end of this qualifier went. And it's funny, you can kind of see like a tonal shift in the way that the players play, because in some of the games you see it very conservative. It's like they're not so worried about the score just yet. They're just kind of like catching their footing in the qualifier, and a lot more teams stay alive. And then we had like 2 games specifically where we had like a pretty big zone and there was like only 10 people left. And so it actually, like, there's so much free space on the map that they actually have to like push and like find the remaining players. So pretty interesting to see that like like tonal shift and the overall like strategy of like where you're going to make up some of those points. And ultimately, even though it didn't work out, I really do respect Win Goes Burr landing in the Halcyon area to try to fight CNT off spawn. I think it's something really interesting that we haven't really seen happen a whole lot of. It's something that is a risk, but you know, when you have a format and a tournament like this where you're taking 6 out of 8 games and you're already doing pretty well and you're looking to find some kind of a way to shut down a team, hey, it's worth the risk potentially. So pretty cool stuff there.
Yeah, and definitely another narrative to go towards that end is that maybe they did take a quick look at their scores, say, hey, we have enough to qualify at this point. Might as well just drop in early, see what happens. You know, we can drop this game and still get into the final top 10 and just see where we stand in comparison with these teams. So definitely something to keep in mind there as well. Don't AMV me. Thanks for the donation of $20. GG's indeed.
GG's.
Of course, 70% of that, if I can do quick math, can I? $14 of that will go directly towards the prize pool. $7 for production. Let's go. It's more than zero. So excellent stuff. We'll be getting those top 5 finishes out here very, very, very quickly. And of course, we'll be announcing those top 10 finalists here on the Discord right after this event. So without further ado, let's see who got top 5. Let's see those final scores. Go ahead, switch it over, Mr. Production Man. Here we go. Drum roll, and it will be Win Goes Burr, winning by just 63 points. What an event that was, and what a way to edge out CNT.
Quick math, but hey, shout out to Pow Poo Promise and Your Mom, going to be finding themselves in that 4th and 5th place position with World Tier. Again, they kept themselves pretty high up there. I wasn't sure exactly where they were going to land, finding themselves in that 3rd place spot. And CNT just barely getting edged out of that 1st place position. But this qualifier, you know, it was pretty dominant in the ways of Win Goes Burr. CNT, though, it's pretty crazy that they won 3 games. They find themselves in that 3rd place position, but that is the format that we're looking to play here. It's all about these fights, these high action fights, and that's what we love about Spellbreak. Anybody that knows and loves this game, anybody that's peeking into this game, you never know, this might be the one qualifier that blows up on the map after this game goes nuclear. And yeah, this game is about action, it's about fun, it's about the combat, and that's really what we got to showcase here in this qualifier.
Yeah, definitely a great showing from all of our teams that came out here today. Keep in mind that even if you didn't have the best showing, this is, of course, the top teams that we do have from around the world. You are competing against the best. Now, as we break down some of these stats, it's a little bit staggered here. So let's break this down a little bit. In the dark highlighted areas, you're going to see the best stats between teams. In the lighter highlighted areas, these are all the individual stats, the highest in their category. Single game highest damage, you have CNT pulling ahead there, along with single game highest exiles being tied with World Tier. The rest of it, total damage, total exiles, average exiles, going to go over to Win Goes Burr. Average placements will go over to CNT as well. Special note here for Nigel, Gigabyte, and Doc to bring in those individual best scores. So great job to all these players. And we'll have another little graphic here to break it down in just a little bit of a different way. If you like colors, I like colors too. Let's get them all up on the screen here. Win Goes Burr, you can see getting 18.7% of the total team damage, followed by CNT on 17, World Tier 15.7. And of course, the rest of the breakdown you can see there on your screen. And as we break down these scores, just another quick thank you to you guys there in the chat. Those of you watching who have been lurking in here, it's been a great pleasure to cast for you guys. It's been a great pleasure to put on this event to see some of these top 10 teams get in some action, get some great action up here. This is what Spellbreak's all about. We love seeing fights. We love seeing great strategy coming out. And it's great to have it all in one place here at Element. So thank you all again for joining in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys so much for participating, being a part of the community, paying attention, donating, showing that support, whatever the case may be. And again, huge shout out to Proletariat for helping out with this event as well. We got the finals coming up in, like you said, I think a couple of weeks. And if you guys are interested in finding out the top 10 teams that are going to be participating, I believe we'll be featuring that inside the Element Discord. So jump in the Element Discord today and be prepared, because we do have those finals coming up very, very soon.
All right, Crashy, I would like to ask if you would like a change of plans here. I do have a little bit of a final word from Thunderson right here that the top 10 teams finalizing are actually good to talk about. So these are pretty well finalized. So
Cool.
we can go ahead and talk about our top 10 teams going to be featured here in 2 weeks on the next Saturday after Thanksgiving, not the 28th, but the one after it on December 5th. So getting into these top 10 teams, I'll start from the bottom and go on up, let you take the top 5, Crashy. We're going to have Kinda Weird going to get in your 10th ranked spot. Going to finish with 2,549 points. CNT is going to qualify with 2,724 points, actually straight off of this qualifier. So very, very close, but still a good enough performance to qualify there. Win goes Burr directly after them with 2,787 from this event as well. We have Seaside going to finish with 2,860 points in the 7th place slot. Haunt is going to be qualifying as well with 2,899 points in 6th place. And Crashy, I'll let you take the top 5.
Yeah, Haunt is going to be in that position. Like you said, we're going to be moving up one more position. It's going to be Thunder Thighs at 34 points. Dark Horse coming in at 4th at 79 points. I'm not sure how to read this one. You got to help me out with this one.
I am Cutie.
I am Cutie. Okay. I am Cutie. Finishing in 3rd at 32.25. Next Selenoc at 30 in 2nd place at 33.87. And in 1st place of all the qualifiers, it's going to be UT Untiered finishing in that 1st place position with a score of 41.28. So that's going to be our top 10 teams from all 8 qualifiers that will be competing in the grand finals.
Yep, and there's plenty of time between now and then. So those of you that are watching who might be on these teams, go ahead and practice in those scrims, refine the tools, find out if Foresight is for you, and of course, come out and show us what you're made of here in 2 weeks on December 5th for that final event. Of course, don't forget to check out the event calendar in the Discord. It is going to lay out all the events we have up to this point. Tomorrow, of course, will again be stream solo scrim starting at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Definitely don't miss that out. And again, if you would like to donate towards these prize pools, special thanks to Proletariat again for sponsoring this particular one. But if you would like to contribute, you can go ahead, hit up the box down below. Get your name up in lights. 70% of it will go towards this prize pool, and 30% will go towards the rest of us here on the production squad, getting you a better show to watch. Well, Crashy, I believe that's about all we have to talk about here. So without further ado, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.